Welcome to class, all you pickleball champs. You are in 452 Advanced Doubles Game Film Analysis. Today we are going to be analyzing the PPA semifinal match between Irving and Jansen versus Parenteau and Todd. If this is your first time here, this course is designed for advanced players who want to get better and understand the game of pickleball at a much deeper level. If you are looking to improve your game, start playing tournaments, thinking about becoming a coach yourself, or simply want to stop losing and not understand why, this course is for you. This course is in-depth. It is game film analysis where we slow things down, pick professional play apart, and understand the mistakes which are holding people back from winning. Therefore, if this is what you have been looking for to take your enjoyment of pickleball to the next level, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our future course videos. I'm your professor. Class is in session. Okay, we're just going to back things up here and go back to the start. For those of you who haven't seen maybe one or multiple of these players before, I'm just going to break it down right here. So starting on our left in the red shorts is Irving. To the left is Jansen in pink shorts, also a white top. On the right top of your screen, black shorts, blue top, white visor, not white hat, that is Todd. And Parenteau follows it up last in the black shorts, blue top, but white hat, bottom right now on the screen. Okay, let's back this point all the way up. As we always do, we watch all the way through the point once, and then we back it up and analyze it. That was Irving to serve. A little bit of a nice rally for the first point here. And then Todd goes for the put away. Okay, let's back this all the way up and see. This camera angle isn't the best, but we're going to see if we can see where this broke down. Okay, so a decent return. Goes for the third shot drop, puts it right into the middle of them. Another fifth shot drop. Seventh shot drop. And they're basically in their stance how they want to be when she was hitting that seventh shot. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I think let's just take a look right here. This is Jansen's forehand. That's quite a bit of height going over that net right there. So that gives Todd kind of the green light to make her move. And when she moves over, she gets blocked. So that's a nice, also rather high on that one. But Jansen's not there, so she can be a little bit more aggressive. She puts it almost past the kitchen line. And as you can see, Jansen kind of doesn't get that right foot back. As you see right here, she does this little stutter step. I'm looking, let me draw this for you guys. So right here, we're looking at Jansen's left foot. I'm going to erase that so you can see it. She does kind of a stutter step. So as we back it up, she puts the foot down and then stutter steps it, but that doesn't get her knee really out of her way. So then she's kind of catching the ball on the short of it, trying to short hop it, and what that does is it takes all the energy of the ball and puts it into the vertical space. That's why short hopping is really kind of risky. And so, as we can see here, even though this camera angle is kind of brutal, this ball, I'm just going to mark the shoulder line of Todd so we can move forward a little bit. I know she's moving, but she's not moving that much. So she definitely gets this ball below the shoulder, but it looks like she's impacting it above the net. So a little bit of risk there, but we can't even see how far back. So let me erase this red mark. We don't need that anymore. When we see the impact on Irvine right there, and it goes straight up, she really just missed that. I mean, she hit down on it, but maybe even Irving thought it was going to be a little bit lower. And so that ball, we don't really have a clear way of telling if it was going to go out. And so it just is going towards the body. Now, not too big of a fan of a cross-court attack, so I think Todd got a little bit lucky on this one, probably because it's the first point. Irvine getting warmed up, just missed the backhand volley, and it just goes straight up. You can even see on her face there, she's just a little shocked that, oh, how did I miss that? Like she kind of had it lined up. And so I think she was just surprised at how high the ball stayed. She thought it was going to curve down a little bit more. And so no big there. But where this point broke down, just to reiterate, this left leg should not be here. You want to step at a 45-degree angle to the path of the ball. So let's take a look, or I'm going to mark the path of the ball here. It's basically this. Okay, let's back this up. I'm just going to see if that stays on plane with the ball. Yeah, pretty close to on plane with the ball right there as it goes through several frames. Okay, so right now, as we can see, I'm going to take the blue. Jansen's basically going at this. She's basically doing, like, going to T-impact the line. So what we want to do is we want to get our body, our feet, close to the same plane or at a 45. So the extreme would be to have her left foot in this path and her right foot back. Like that would be as far as she would want to go, because then that would really directionally hit the ball basically straight back. And so that's why if we're at a 45, so the ball's here, so if her foot, I'm going 45 off of this marker, so if her foot was back here, she wouldn't have to short hop it. She would have given herself more time, and then she could direct the ball either back to the middle, or she can take it cross court this way and give herself more options. So it's really, this point breaks down at this hit, which very clearly then becomes an attackable ball based off that pop-up. And so that's why I was looking at the before to see how the setup occurred. And it's really her coming back. I'm just looking at Jansen's footwork here, because she hits here, she's moving forward back. Like, that's beautiful how you should. You should be using your legs to get you back to the kitchen. The ball is now passed, and she takes ground. And then at this point, yeah, she just goes hard left instead of hard left back. So I don't think she was really that late to it, and it wasn't hit that hard. I think what you see here is she wants this move, her first move. Okay, so this is her ready position. Now take a look at her back. Very nice and vertical. Her teammate, very nice and vertical. Okay, so I'm going to leave those marks right there. Watch this. So as we move forward, what happens? She bends. You can very clearly see it when I leave the marks there. So she bends at the torso instead of at the knee, because I think at this point where the ball is at, she thought she was going to take it out of the air. And then she realizes that that ball is moving too quick, and she's going to have to let it bounce. And so that's why she was trying to be aggressive, take it out of the air, and then had to change her mind. So when you're in a dink battle, your first thought in your head should be letting the ball bounce. Then when it gets high, that's when you move in on it. But what you first want to be doing is saying, if I'm hitting a soft shot like this, right? Like she hits this forehand to Todd's backhand. That is not a ball where I'm like, I think my opponent's going to pop this up, right? And so the move in, now she's obviously getting back to where she needs to be, but I think this is where the mistake is, where she thought she could take it right here out of the air and then realizes that she's late and behind it. So, okay. Well, good point. I think we analyzed that one pretty well. Let's move on to the next one. As I said before, we always try and watch these all the way through. And this is Todd's turn to serve. Oh. Okay, so a couple dink mistakes in a row by Jansen. But let's back this all the way up, and we'll start breaking this one down. Decent serve, not super deep, over to Irvine. There was a third shot drop there. I don't really like the technique, but it was a decent enough drop. gets the 5th shot drop, and the positioning is pretty poor. I know that Parenteau and Todd haven't gotten a chance to play doubles with each other a lot, but that's kind of a big gap, kind of a strange. So right here, this is what's weird. I'm just going to mark Todd's foot line so we can see this, and then I'm going to mark this line. So I just want you to see where she chooses to hit it. Okay, so let's watch this ball. So if you're going to choose to hit the ball in the middle, you have to squeeze towards the middle. I actually really like drops in between your opponent. I'm not too worried about the forehand, but she needs to cut this way more. As you can see, Parenteau already is hugging the middle, and the big issue comes in is that her partner isn't. And so then she's really reaching for this one. Does a beautiful reset here. Jansen sees that they're out of balance, that they're trying to now move up, that they're definitely late. So she's trying to hit an attacking dink, a little bit of a speed up, take it out wide, go for the corners, and just hits the tape. And what it looks like to me, in my personal opinion, as you see her here, this is what you don't want to do. I'm just using, see how she bends, she's completely bent at the waist, and her legs are almost completely straight. You can feel that when your knees just get tired and don't want to bend. If she'd bent, taken that step back, bent at the knees, got her butt down, and kept her back more straight, she's going to be able to hit this ball harder, more direction, and most likely not miss it. And so that's the one change I'd like to see here. I think she was a little caught off guard that that ball actually made it. But yeah, that's not good footwork. Kind of 2 points in a row for Jansen just starting off here. I'm sure she will adjust and adapt. Okay, let's move on to the next one. First point for Parenteau and Todd. Here we go. A little 3rd shot drive. Just want to see if there's anything we can really gain from this. Yeah. Todd lets that ball get way too close to her before she makes the decision to go for it. She gets over, split steps late, and then the ball's bounced, and she's not even into a ready position. So she's way late on hitting this ball. It's all the way in her body and hits the bottom of the tape. Obviously trying to keep it low, but you want to be catching this ball much further out, so you have to be in your right position much earlier. That's just a bad decision. And so I think she was thinking drop, and she just changed her mind. And, you know, it's understandable. I'm not saying that drive was the wrong decision. She has all this space. Jansen's moving slow. So I understand she sees that and goes, oh, man, let me change up the game plan and go for it. But not really good form on how fast she got that forehand back loaded to then hit into the ball. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Parenteau's turn to serve. Nice deep serve. Good return. Ooh, okay. Obviously, Jansen and Irvine are going to be attacking Todd. So the one thing I always like to kind of point out things as we go. You're not just looking at who's hitting the ball. Look at what Parenteau does here. Once she sees that she's not taking the ball, she decides this early. Okay, where's the ball? The ball, in case you're having a tough time seeing it with that big PPA sign, the ball is right here, crossing the plane of the net. I'm just going to move the ball a couple frames so you can see it kind of come out of that. And Parenteau has already shifted her feet. Look how she shifts her feet over. So she has already decided with the ball in the air at that point, I'm not hitting this ball. That ball is going to Todd. And what does she do? She immediately starts moving forward. Fantastic. Now, I think this is a little bit too far. We really want to kind of that would be kind of the max range. I'd say somewhere in here is kind of in the actual middle of the court. So you can see that that's the back of her feet. Like, she's definitely being aggressive and seeing what she can get. But what it's doing is it's really locking in her partner in the back of it. So the other thing that I said, it was 1 or 2 points ago, the form that I'm not really happy with is with Todd's drops, and here's why. You see how she's once again falling back. She really likes to lean back and pick up that, I'm just going to circle it here for you, her front left foot right there. Let's just look at that front left foot. She really likes to pick that up as she's hitting the ball. See how she kind of jumps? And so she has this very backward leaning jump drop, and then it takes her another like step and a half to start making any forward progress. So the ball is now at the net. The ball is crossing the plane of the net. She has only kind of gathered her composure. So let's go all the way back to the hit. As you can see here, her foot was about 1 inch behind the baseline. She drags it back, jumps up, puts it down. Ball is at the plane of the net. This is when you got to be ready. You now need to be ready. So she has achieved no ground because she's falling back when hitting her drop. So she hasn't been able to get any forward progress to help her teammate and start getting to the net. So now she's split stepping at point of impact of the ball. See how both her feet are in the air? And she's still in the air, and then she gets down. Luckily, she's at the back of the court. So now she's late again. So then she's falling back again for the for the next drop. This time she's a little bit more aggressive. Like, hey, I got to move up. Jansen leans over, takes it out of the air again, puts it back at her feet. She falls back a little bit again. She's trying to get and make progress. Here's the one thing, as I don't like to talk too much about form on these classes, especially as we're doing advanced game analysis, not form analysis. I do just want to point out, so let's look at Parenteau and how far max she made it up. So this is the max that she made. I'm just going to put a little mark there at her front foot. And watch what she does. She sees, when she looks back and sees where her teammate is, she comes back. She even stands up, then gets down again for a second time. So she's moved all the way back to here. And as we talked about, I'm just going to draw that line. This is kind of where she should have started off going. So she kind of went aggressive, kind of says, hey, if it doesn't work out, I'll move back. But if you hit something that's kind of going to be a shake and bake, I can attack it. That is what you want to do. If your partner isn't coming up, you do have to come back and kind of help them and be ready for the smash coming your direction and allowing her to have more space. So the good example is, why did Jansen go to the right? Jansen went to the right, so we're just going to put a mark where the ball is getting impact. So at any point, if Todd had hit the ball here, I'm leaving that dot. So we're going to hypothetically have the ball have gone there. Okay, so if the ball had gone, I'm going to mark it in blue. The ball went here, okay? And we know where Jansen hits it. But if the ball had come to the red, so I'm going to draw this out in the red, there is this trucking lane. We normally kind of draw it like this. Here between Parenteau and Todd. And so that's the problem, is anytime you get further to the right with the ball, I'm going to just explain, anytime the ball, if your partner on the right-hand side drops the ball over anywhere in this range, they can easily hit the ball between you right down this track when Parenteau, and in case you guys don't, this is Parenteau, when Parenteau goes too far. So that is the number one reason why we say don't overrun it, and why you want to have Parenteau stop here, which she did back up to. She did get back there. But if she'd stopped here, and let's say her teammate had hit it here or anywhere to the right, if she's here, this lane is much smaller and she can get it and help. That's the thing. She's basically saying she's forcing, by Parenteau's body, she is forcing Todd to hit the ball to the left. She has forced her to hit the ball essentially here this way by overrunning this, or the ball is just going to get put back behind her. And that's not really a great thing to do to your teammate. I know you can say, hey, well, she should be good enough to put it. I want her to actually put it even further, but the ball's coming fast, the ball's got spin, and sometimes you're not able to control it that much. Okay, so let's look at this one. She does another lift. That ball floats, and then the put away. My opinion is that this point really never got started. Jansen does a great job of just being aggressive and making her earn every inch and make her make a decision. Are you going to take this out of the air? Are you going to let it bounce? She lets it bounce. And by making Todd hit 3 good drops, none of these balls were super risky for Jansen. It was just, okay, here's a drop, kind of at height level of the net. I'm just going to lift it up again, put it nice and back. Another one, just nice and back. None of this has super pace on it. And then she gets a ball where she's like, hey, I can get a little more spin. I can get this down. But in my opinion, so right here, I'm just going to show it. Right there is where the ball is crossing the plane net. I always kind of do somewhere in these 3 frames. As this is a two-dimensional image, we can't know exactly, but just based on everyone's body language, in these 3 frames, that is where it's crossing the net. And as you can see, Todd is not down and ready. Look at her partner, Parenteau. The ball is crossing the plane net. What is she doing? She's essentially split-stepping. Let's just look right here. Watch Parenteau on the left-hand side. As we move forward, she's down and low, where her partner is still choosing to run forward. And once Jansen sees that she's not getting down and low and she's moving forward, well then, hey, I just got to put it at your feet. You're not going to be ready. And so that's really the issue here is Todd doesn't get down. Todd's trying to take ground past the fact that when she should. Look at this split. Both her feet are in the air at this point. The ball's already crossing the plane of net, coming back at her. Therefore, super late to get over to that ball. If she had had this beautiful split step when the ball was crossing the plane of the net, she easily could have adjusted to the hit of Jansen and gotten over there and gotten it. Okay, good point. I think we learned something from a couple different players in there. And now it's over to Irvine's serve. Here we go. A beautiful point here in the semifinal match. Nice shot. Let's back this one up. I think we're going to have a lot to go over in this point. Okay, so just going to back this up because I always like pointing these out. It's a deep serve. It's not overly deep, but it's definitely middle of the box. And Parenteau has very clearly made the decision that they are hitting the ball to Jansen, okay? And Jensen's known for driving it. So Parenteau's made this decision. Why is she making this decision? Because they're doing a switch. So her partner is moving this direction. In these situations, the person you are trying to help is your partner on them seeing if a drive comes, which it did. But in this situation, it's easier for your partner to see a straight coming on ball and volley it back, and that's why she hits it there. So I would also hit it at Jansen because she's normally more aggressive up at the net, and so you're trying to make her stay back longer. And so Parenteau's willing to do the runaround and deal with the most likely speed up because that's what's going to help her team out the most. Okay, so she hits a nice cut backspin volley to try and keep Jansen back. Jansen does that classic. You only got one bullet in the gun. She fires the drive once and then immediately switches to a drop. Now let's just back this up. This was the initial hard spinning ball. She's at the baseline. She hits that drive. She moves in. She gets a softer ball that checks up with back spin, and she's easier able to drop it. So that's why you actually hit the third shot drive, is to give yourself an easier fifth shot drop. It's not to magically get all the way to the kitchen in one go or to win the point. So she does a seventh shot reset. Nice backhand reset. Gets really nice and low on Todd. And now we're into this dink battle. Oh, let me back that up. I didn't realize Todd sped this ball up. Yeah. So Jansen does it again. Has patience. Resets it off her backhand. Here we go. Short checkup. It appears that Todd is basically going to be using her backhand dinks aggressively. Like, she sped up that other one. Irvine sees that she's definitely going to try and speed that up again. That ball floats, and Irvine just misdirects to try and basically backhand chicken arm Parenteau, and it works on her paddle being down. So I know we can't see where her paddle is at. Parenteau's arm form is going down like this. So she's got both hands on it, and the paddle is definitely below the height of the net. We can pretty much say that because as you see, when it comes out from her body, where is it at? It's low. And that is the one thing. If you are playing doubles, it's more often going to occur in doubles when you get into these dink battles. Once you see if you're going to take the risk, okay, so I want to be very clear on this. Irvine took a risky shot, right? I'm not saying that ball is actually at her knee because she's out hitting it in front of her, but it's definitely below her shoulder. So just a quick reminder, shoulder above, green ball, shoulder to knee, yellow ball, knee down, red ball. So you're taking a risk. It's not that you can't speed up a yellow ball, but you're taking a risk. When should you take the risk of speeding up a yellow ball? One of the number one times, if you're going to take the risk, it's most likely going to work out for you, is when you see your opponent's paddle is down, and that's what she saw. She sees Parenteau's paddle drop, and so she goes high with it. There's not a lot of power on that. It's just a misdirect, little flick. Probably would have dropped in because it's not moving very hard, and Parenteau just can't catch up to it, and she hits it straight down into the net. So nice attack ball, but this point actually broke down right here, and this is what we're talking about. So this is a little bit of a pop-up, a little bit of a drive. I don't believe that Todd was, this is clearly not a speed-up because it's dropping back down by the time it gets to Irvine, so I'm not calling this a bounce attack. I just think it floated on her as she was trying to put some pace on it, which allowed Irving to step into it. So, but the two mistakes here are in this dink and then in Parenteau having her hands too low and not ready for it coming across. I'm just looking right now at Todd's form on this. She does let the ball get a little bit into her, but not that bad. Here's the one thing that I really like. Parenteau's game is just beautiful, and the one thing that I want to point out is this ball comes across here. What you will see a lot of people doing a lot of the time is this player, Parenteau, stepping over basically right into their teammate, giving up all this course space over here to hit this ball because it's coming across to take their forehand. I like how calm Parenteau sits right here and goes, okay, you're hitting it to my teammate. You're hitting the ball directly to them. The ball is checking up into their body. That is exactly who I want hitting the shot. It doesn't make any sense for me to get out of position to try and struggle to hit that ball back. Now, it didn't work out for him, but the most likely person that's going to hit a good shot and going to hit it in is Todd in that scenario. And so I like Parenteau's trust in her teammate and allowing the play to proceed the correct way. It will work out in the long run. Okay, let's move on to the next point. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So once again, what Todd and Parenteau have decided is they're going to hit the ball straight back to the side that the person is switching. So the ball comes here. Todd hits a nice backhand, and Parenteau gets to the left. A little bit of it, I mean, it's in that box, but it's kind of turning. I think they would have liked it a little bit further to the left. Man, Todd is just really late on this ball and really late on her split step again. She doesn't split step there. The ball's already coming at her. Then she's getting her feet down. And that's all into her body. And she just misses the complete ball. So this one is really footwork. One, hit a return. She's got to be coming up faster if she's going to try and get all the way to the kitchen line. And she needs to split step sooner. The goal is to be to the kitchen before the ball bounces. So the ball bounces right here, right in that frame. I'm going to kind of right there. We're going to say that's where the ball bounces. Look how far away Todd is. Way back here. And she should have already made it to here by the time that ball bounced. So now let's go back and once again look at how she takes this ball. So she's ready. She's a good 3 to 6 feet behind the baseline like she should be. She's a pro. She does a little hop here, sets up for it, hits the ball, and she's moving into it. It's not that she's not moving into it. I'm just looking here. Yeah, it's just too slow. It's almost like a jog with a little bit of an extra slowdown. So I would say if she feels that she likes that push off with her left leg, which is nice form, that she just needs to hustle more initially once she's hit it. I'm not going to say that she needs to try and hustle before hitting a nice deep ball like that. Okay. Well, I think we learned some from that point. Let's move on to the next one. Couple quick points for Irving and Jansen. Irving to serve again. Jansen tried to third shot drop that and just missed. I'm just going to see if anything really caught. Doing kind of that lift. It didn't really work out. But once again, as we see, Parenteau going straight forward so that Todd can come across and have an easier time dealing with any speed ups. Nothing too, just hit a little bit of the tape, just a little bit off. And so let's move on to the next one. Jansen's turn to serve. Oh, there's a little miscommunication between the teammates. I very much disagree with the invite up ball there. Worked out in the end, but let's back this up and take a look at it. Okay, we're going to go pretty slow through this one. Okay. So medium range on the serve, and the ball's still bouncing right about there. Todd hasn't really improved her get-up speed, but luckily she put it right in between the two of them, so there's a bit of a delay. And Jansen gets a very high kind of lob at the kitchen, gives him another lob. Irvine does essentially what a drop is. And the issue right here is, as you can see, Jansen doesn't move forward. So I agree right here. Parenteau sees that neither one of them are taking ground on any of these shots. They're just keep getting them back. So she changes her mind and says, I'm going to drop it. Look how far past the kitchen that ball goes. So this is an off one. If you're going to play that shot, which I don't recommend, that's just an awful bad shot to do. Number two, she literally hits it to Irvine. Let's take a look here. From this ball, there is where the big opening is, right? So she could have smashed it right down the middle and you have this big giant opening. But let's also look at these lines mean the exact same thing. I'll draw it this way. She dropped it directly in front. That's how far Jansen has to go. If she drops it directly in front, look how far Irvine has to go. But she, instead of dropping it directly in front of her, which would be the longest distance for her opponents, she hits it to the left, which now gives it about half the distance, if not less, for all Irvine had to do is now do a mid-court drop. And so it just doesn't make any sense. That's just a horrible mental error on that. I'm going to stop bringing the pace and invite them up. So I really hope you guys learn from this point that if you got them back, keep them back, keep smashing. It just doesn't make any sense that you think you're going to play somebody hit a drop like that and they're not going to come get it, especially one of that quality. Okay, so Irvine does this drop, and now they're almost to the kitchen. Jansen goes cross court, and they are essentially now in the dink battle. Both Jansen and Irvine are staying back a little bit extra. They're definitely staying off this kitchen line. They're making some conscious decision here. And because they're off when this attack comes, when they try and attack back, they don't hit up on it. And this is the big reason why we say you always got to know where are you on the court. Irvine is right there. We'll do it off the front foot of Jansen. And Jansen is right there. And so when this ball comes, they're on the defensive, right? They are, Irvine's got to be at least 6 feet, maybe more, off the kitchen line. So Parenteau sees this and realizes, hey, they're going to stay back there. I have the advantage. I'll speed this up. I've got less risk because the ball's going to come back slower. So she's only doing a little flick on this. This is not a strong ball. It's not coming really fast. She's just like, hey, you're on the defense. I'm going to see if I can keep you back. And the big mistake is, as you see the paddle wind up and swing by Irving trying to force an attack this ball, what they should do is reset this ball and then actually get up to a neutral position. You are not in a neutral position until both of you are here at the kitchen line with your opponent. If you are off this line, you're on the defensive, your opponent's on the offensive, and they were making their way up. They had not actually even gotten to neutral, and Irving sees this little flick shot, and instead of resetting goes, okay, let's go for it, and then hits it down to the net. So that's the mental breakdown. There was definitely an error by Parenteau in this point that they got away with. Yep, that's just too bad. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, Parenteau's turn to serve. Not a very good drop there. Let's back this one up and take a look. Short serve, deep ball once again. Because Todd likes to be right on this line, she keeps having to back up to hit these drops, which makes her, once again, as we talked about before, look at that left foot kind of jump drop. This is the number one issue that you're going to see over and over again when you see people do kind of the jump drop, is it floats high and people get to smash it on you. And so if there's something to take away from this clip, it is, one, don't be so close to the line for your third. Be a little bit further off of it in case they hit deep so that you can still come forward. You got to wait anyway, right? You got to let it bounce. So why are you so close and then having to move back? Okay. Parenteau actually this time does stop where she should at zone 2. For those of you watching one of our clips for the first time, I'm just going to explain what zone 2 is. So we like to keep things simple here. We got baseline is number 1. Middle right here is number 2. She's passed it just slightly. And the kitchen is number 3. And you shouldn't, when you're going up, you want to be one zone away from your partner, but you never want to be more than one zone away from your partner. And the reason is to only go to zone 2 and then stop and wait. So Parenteau's making her way up. She's not waiting for her teammate. She's getting to zone 2 and then got to get down and ready. The issue is she needs to be down and ready here already, and she overran zone 2 as we saw. So once you're overrunning zone 2, what are you doing? You're now backpedaling. Couldn't get that ball. A shocking thing about this is, I'm not going to say it's exactly perfect, but if we said that this was the middle of that court, man, that ball went right to it. And so if her feet had been there instead of where she went, let's see where she gets to, instead of just past it and then she has to come back, she could have dealt with that ball easier and most likely gotten it. So yes, the mistake is on this bad technique and the floaty lob, but the point really actually dies because Parenteau, being a little overly aggressive, is trying to go past zone 2 instead of going to zone 2, stopping and waiting for her partner, and also seeing if it's a good drop or a bad drop so that then she can progress. The one great thing is if you get to zone 2 and you get down, crouched, and ready, you can still attack on a shake and bake from the tip of zone 2. You just have to be already down, ready to spring into action, and then you're able to move forward towards that ball. So a couple mistakes there that make this point end rather early. The biggest thing I hope you guys take away from this clip specifically is you do not want to be where Todd is on the, like, there is no reason to be a millimeter behind the baseline waiting to see what's going to happen on your return. You want to have fewer decisions. You want to stand someplace where the only decision you have to make is going forward, waiting on a third shot. Maybe you got to do it a little bit of an angle, but there is no where you are standing, you should never be, I have to go this direction. So the ball should be able to literally bounce on the baseline right here. The ball bounced right there. You should still be able to impact this ball moving forward and coming towards the kitchen, and that just isn't happening for Todd. Parenteau's doing a great job of saying, okay, that ball's going to Todd. My job is to move forward, and she's doing a good job moving forward, just moving a little too far forward. That may be an issue with just their the number of times they've gotten a chance to play together. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Todd's turn to serve. Go get a little lucky off that tape. Jansen goes for the tape twice. Good eye by Parenteau. Let's back this up. Okay, serve, middle of the box. I point that out a lot in these videos and was like, why am I pointing that out? Because a lot of people in the amateur levels, 3-0, 3-5, 4, 4-5, are getting super aggressive with their serves these days, as if they're almost playing singles when they're playing doubles. And I just want you to see from the The pros care about never missing. You never want to miss a serve. And so they're not actually hitting it that unbelievably deep in the box. They're not putting that much unbelievable pace on it. They are getting the points started to battle the rest of the way. Jansen didn't hit it that deep on her back. That's perfectly fine. The goal of a serve is to get the kind of return you want in pickleball. It's not to hit an ace. Okay, as we see once again, Parenteau overruns this, is now on split stepping, but really coming back. I think she's going to probably make adjustments probably either later this game or in game 2 when she's been overrunning almost every ball here. Good get by Parenteau there. Now we're into a dink battle. It was a surprisingly high redirect by Parenteau that Jansen isn't attacking. Once again, Jansen and Irvine are staying well off the kitchen line and leaving the middle very open. This is not normal doubles form. And I'm not exactly sure what the idea here was. I mean, I guess what she was trying to do was take it down the baseline, but to hit it that high doesn't even get even that close. She's definitely not doing a drop or a lob. Sorry, I didn't mean a drop, I meant a lob. If she had lobbed this ball where she would want to take it, she would want to cross over the backhand side of Parenteau and put it somewhere in here and or going this direction. Also, not the greatest opportunity to do that. But yeah, she just side swipes it. Let me just see if there's anything else in this. No. Unfortunately, there's not just a mental error on just that is a bad decision. So let's just analyze, like, what should she have done? So let's point out a couple of good things she does. We're talking about Irvine. She's here. She's ready. Her paddle's in a good position. We've got a lot of things going right for her. And the ball's now crossing over. She sidesteps and goes back at the angle. That's the big thing I want you to see. So she sidestepped. Her feet are now at this angle. Whereas before, I'll just back it up again. See how they were this way. And then she gets them to a 45. So she gets her body turned to be able to use her left leg. She loads onto the left leg. The ball obviously is in her body. And so at this point, the area that you really don't want to hit it, unless you're going to hit it extremely soft and you need to very much open up that paddle face, so you don't really want to hit the ball here. And you say, but that's their backhand. Why would I want to go there? Because that's where the Ernie comes from, and they'll just jump the kitchen line. And so this is the most dangerous spot, the blue right here. That's kind of the most dangerous spot. So I'm just going to mark this as a red X. We're going to say, okay, we don't want to go there. Okay, so where do we want to go? Well, where we do want to go is we want to just go back into this middle area because, one, if we get it to the middle area, that would either make Parenteau move to the right, which would give us space and for her to hit her forehand, or it's going to go to the backhand of Todd. So the thing is what you can, when you're doing this, and this happens in every pickleball game, when you're a little bit off balance, you're going back, it's your forehand, you're aiming for this person's leg right here. That's the easiest, safest place to say, okay, I'm going to put at that person's leg and see what they can do. And that allows you to come back, get in better position. Going and trying to hit this ball and go all the way from here very aggressive and also dangerous because you're getting the ball up. And now everything from here over is Todd's forehand. And so that's why that is not the ideal place to put it. So the ideal thing to do in this situation is to put it at Todd's left leg. But the other thing that I just want to point out, what Irvine, she's made, this is her second mistake on this, is realizing where she's at on the court. She's off balance, falling backwards. I know it's her forehand, but she's on defense. Your opponent hit a good dink. Realize what you wanted. Did her opponent did she force her opponent to hit a pop-up yet? No. So let's look right here. So she's sitting here, Jansen hits this ball, and that's not a pop-up, right? So in Irvine's mind should be that they have not accomplished their goal. What is your goal when you are dinking? To hit shots that get your opponent to pop it up to you. Do not attack a ball until you have accomplished your goal of getting your opponent to hit a pop-up, something that is attackable. You're just letting them off the hook. You guys made it up to the kitchen. You're now theoretically neutral right here. It's essentially neutral. Jansen's a little bit back. I don't like how far off the line Jansen's playing. I know she's tall. But you haven't gotten what the point is, and therefore when you try and shorthand it, you make mental errors like this because you're thinking attack on balls you shouldn't attack on. And I know that ball kind of floats up a little bit high, and from this camera angle, it looks like it might barely be above the knee, but this is essentially attacking a very, very low yellow ball, most likely a red ball, and therefore it floats long, doing an attack on a bounce dink. We normally keep track of those in these videos, and with that, this would be 1 attempt, 0 on the success rate. I'm not just exactly sure that that's what she was really trying to do on this one. Okay, let's move on to the next point. Todd to serve. Okay, let's back that up. Irvine makes a good decision of going down the middle. Ooh, that is some weird form by Irvine. Yeah, I would like to see her sitting a lot lower. She's standing up very tall right here. And she's definitely leaning forward. You can see right in these 2 or 3 frames that her body weight is coming in. She's split stepping with the ball already coming forward. So her body weight's pulling her forward. So once you get that lean, you're on your front toes and you haven't gotten your counter balance weight, aka your butt, helping you sit down and be low, then when she's trying to do the side step, everything breaks down and she lets the ball get into her body. That's what was hard to see from this 2-dimensional image. If we had the other camera angle, you would see how much she lets this ball get into her body, which has it then misdirect. And you want to catch these volleys further out in front of you. That's what gives you the ability to control them and put them where you want. She also sees Todd coming up. But the real breakdown here is her not getting low at the kitchen line, keeping her body weight low and back after the split step and keeping her paddle out in front, able to take this low ball. Now, it's a decent drive. It's not a bad drive. I don't think it's some insane amount of power given how far back Parenteau hit the ball. I definitely think somebody with the talent and skill level of Irvine could have hit it, and so that's why I'm really pointing out what, for somebody like yourself watching this video, what you can learn from that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Ooh. Probably the best point so far. Let's take a look at this. Okay, Todd serves. Probably one of her deeper serves. So she gets a short return. So the point where people say, like, hey, serve deep and hard is because more often than not, for most people, you will get a shorter return. Now, watch the difference. Leaning forward into this, look how her body weight is literally pushing her forward because she has to go get this ball. So she hits a much better drop, and look where she cuts all the way up to. All the other ones in the other points that we've analyzed where she's falling back, going away, this solely by the ball being short, it literally fixes her bad technique because she has to come up to it. Now, she still kind of does this little fall to the right, but not anywhere near as bad or severe as when she's doing the lift the leg, fall back on her drop. So they both get to the kitchen line in one shot. That's fantastic. And now we're going to get into this dink battle. And Irvine and Jansen have been putting some beautiful balls into the middle of the court. And Jansen definitely sees one she likes there. That ball definitely carries. So Parenteau just kind of lifted it a little extra. It's hard from this camera angle to see how much higher over the net that really is. But the one thing we can very clearly see is that Jansen is contacting that ball below the shoulder, above the knee, so taking the risk on the speed up. But it does look at contact, it is at net height or higher. So when she hits this, it does rise. So my opinion is she's hitting this ball just below the net, but it most likely would have come down because of the amount of spin she put on it. So Jansen takes a risk on this ball. It's definitely not a green ball. It's not. So the problem is when you take these yellow balls, she does the right thing. She attacks straight on. Unfortunately, she attacks straight on into the forehand of Todd. And Todd, because the ball is having to rise, so I'm just going to draw this because the ball is becoming rather difficult to see. The ball basically does this type of trajectory. Okay, so I'm just trying to help everybody out here. I'm going to leave that on here as I trace this ball. Ball actually gets a little bit higher than even my line. Kind of in that range. Let's keep moving it forward for you guys. And then that's impact. Yeah, right where the is. So with this upward trajectory, what does it do? Your teeter-totter, as you've probably heard a lot in pickleball. So I'm just going to draw out our teeter-totter here. Jansen hits the ball up on her teeter-totter. And Todd's getting to hit down. And so Jansen's over here. Todd's over here. And even though they were in neutral positions, Todd has the green light. And so she hits down, and Jansen can't get back soon enough to get it and have to lift it back up. See how she would have to have hit the ball and lifted it back up. She tries deflecting with a swing. Yep. I'm not even going to say Jansen's form is that bad because her arm gets above the net, but she gets it almost back, but still just tough when it goes to someone's forehand. They can smash down on you, and you're trying to reset up that ball. So the big takeaway here is once again, in these dink battles, what you are trying to do is get your opponent to give you a green ball. Now, I'm not saying that this ball, it's definitely a high yellow ball, and Jansen really hit it good. So the only thing I would say, if you're going to take this, she needs to get it over to the backhand side of Todd. She's not able to generate the kind of power she'd really like off of that kind of backhand flick. So hopefully that was clear for you guys. A lot of good things in that point. Let's move on to the next one. Todd serving again. Oh, bounce, speed up, and sails long. Well long. Not even close. And so, as from a couple points ago, Irvine did a bounce, speed up, and it went long. Now Todd goes, hold my beer, and does one. Let's take a look at it again. So she gets another short ball. So now she's getting to lean forward and hit it. So a much better drop when her weight is transferring into the ball, her body weight, and she has a lot more control. It drops in there, gives them time to move up. That is just a bad decision on thinking of when and why should you attack. I know she felt good that they had the momentum of getting up to the kitchen line, but you got to realize the first thing is, hey, we got up here. Now we're neutral. Now I want to get a ball that I want. This is maybe a bottom yellow ball, maybe gets just over her knee. Number two, this is a lot. There's a lot of bad here. So let's just think about where and what could actually go good on this. So we know she hits it middle out. So she's hitting it between the two people, which, okay, I can understand that. The problem with that is she's hitting to the short part of the court. So if you're actually going to hit a ball on this bounce speed up and say, where should you hit it? Theoretically, you should be hitting it towards this corner to give yourself the max amount of court distance so that it goes in, so that you can hit it as hard as possible. That means she's hitting it directly into her opponent, who is standing there, who will also then most likely hit it back. The problem is for that, in this position, here's our triangle. She would be attacking cross court. So I always like to do these. You guys have probably seen this before if you watch some of our other videos. This part of the triangle, I'll turn it blue. That part of the triangle is the longest distance, the 3, 4, 5. Like if this is 3 feet, that's 4 feet, that's 5 feet, that's a right angle triangle. And we all learned that in probably high school or junior high. Now, so she's hitting it the longest distance, which is going to give Irvine more time to see the ball coming and most likely get it back. The next thing is because this ball, I'm going to just move a couple frames forward so we can see the ball. I like it right about there. So if this ball had traveled this path, where does the ball naturally want to go if Irvine hit it? It would be deflect. The entire force of the ball now wants to go this way, right? It wants to go on the same trajectory on the deflect. There's nobody on your team standing over here, and that's where those points you see in pickleball all the time where someone attacks cross court and that person doesn't even have to do anything to it. They're just deflecting that energy, and your other teammate isn't in space. So even if they had hit this ball for the most likely best spot to hit it, and where that would most likely go in, their own team isn't ready for the speed up. And as they always say, don't speed it up if you're not ready for the speed. And right here, Parenteau and Todd aren't even ready for the speed up, and Todd isn't thinking about that. And so that's one of the reasons why this is multiple steps of bad and not the correct shot on multiple levels not to do. So I really hope you take away from this realizing when you should speed it up and when you shouldn't. That point right there was literally a master class in what not to do. And so I hope you guys really take that away from that one. Okay, on to the next point. Let's back this one on up. Okay, this is good. So we are going to be looking at Irvine, and we are going to be looking at her coming up here. So what I want to do first off is the ball is crossing the plane net somewhere in these 3 frames. We can't ever know exactly where. But as you can see, neither Irvine or Jansen are getting down and getting ready for the ball to come back. That's an issue. So now they keep running. They go, hey, I hit a good drop. I'm going to let it bounce. We have extra time. Jansen now, at least at this point, she's getting ready on the bounce. Okay? Irvine isn't. They both do their split step when the ball is being impacted as if they're playing tennis. So they need an extra, 20 yards of tennis court for that to make sense. So they're really late. So she gets down on her feet, has no control of her legs as she tries to reset this. And then it goes short. What you want to do is you want to already be down, so you have one decision on where you're headed, and then you just react, and you can use your leg strength and body to control that reset ball. The good thing on this point is, what did Todd do? Todd made Irvine make a decision. This isn't a very low ball. This isn't a very hard hit ball. All this ball did was say, Irvine, make a decision. Are you going to let it bounce, or are you going to hit it out of the air? And if you make your opponents make more decisions, they will make more mistakes. And so if Todd had hit this ball softer and shorter, well, then she would have bailed Irvine's bad footwork out. Irvine would have walked up, hit a little extra drop or dink, and then Jansen and Irvine would have been at the kitchen. So this is exactly what you want to do. You want to make your opponent earn every inch. You don't even have to hit it that hard. You don't have to hit it that low. What you just have to do is hit it to where they have to make a decision, and they will therefore make more mistakes. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Good reset. Okay, let's back that point up. There's a lot there. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Jansen's serving, and she likes to hit a nice hard serve because she played a lot of singles in her day. So her normal serve is harder and deeper. And then she hits that lift drop, and because she hit such a good deep serve back here, Parenteau is late. She also returned it short. So she's got a double whammy where she's like, oh, man, this might be coming hard at me. And she really pops that ball up. That was a mistake. Not to be set. She should let this ball bounce and then hit it on the apex of the ball after the bounce. But she bends. We haven't really talked about this in this one. We pointed out a little bit. Once you bend at the waist down, you're dead in the water. Your brain will always, no matter how low that ball goes, you're going to try and take it out of the air. So if you're ever wondering, like, why do I always lean down and I'm not letting the ball bounce when I should, it's because you have already, I'm going to draw it this way. So if we had a stick figure and they were standing this direct, that was their 2 arms. There's their 2 legs. Once this stick figure, I will erase the top part, bends at the waist, doesn't bend the knees. Here we go. This is our person right there. Bends that direction. You have to, this is just body mechanics. I'm not gonna use blue. That's gonna get a little confusing. You have to actually right and up your body to then step backwards. Everybody does it. Because you don't feel bound. If I take my leg and I start moving my legs backwards, my body feels like it's going to fall straight down this way. And so that is why you always have to then come back up and then go backwards. And your brain in pickleball says, I don't have time to get back upright. So once she starts leaning forward, her only decision at this point is now to take this ball in the air, even though she knows it's not the right one. So she pops it up, and Irvine, even though she's back, says, I'm not letting that go. I'm speeding this up. Now, she sped up across court, which she would have had more success if she hadn't. That gave Todd time to at least get it. But Jansen says, okay, we're now in it. Parenteau hits the tape, and they get it back. And once again, Parenteau leans all the way out to get the ball, stays out of the kitchen. And right here, in my opinion, Irvine makes the actual pro decision and says, I'm resetting this ball. This is not something we should be attacking. We need to get up to the kitchen line. We haven't even gotten up there yet. So then she resets that ball. Jansen and Irvine move up, and Parenteau does a very aggressive dink towards the line. We can't actually see if that ball was in, but we're going to assume it was in. Nobody called it out. And the one thing that from several points ago, what does Irvine now do? She hits the ball directly at Todd's leg. That angle is directly towards Todd's leg. That's perfect. And Parenteau runs over and hits another one over to Jansen. That's a big pop-up. This is what I found a little bit weird is, okay, I just want to point this out. If your teammate is literally off the court where Parenteau is, Todd does a good job getting to here with her left foot. The difference is your teammate's off. You need to be here straddling. You may even, I'm not even kidding you, I would even be comfortable with your right leg here and your left leg here, where you're even cheating it this direction. Why? The reason is, I'm going to erase the yellow and the red. The reason is because the ball is going to come back this direction. What are the odds of the ball getting anywhere over here? Basically slim to none. Okay, so this we're going to mark as an X. Ball's not going to get here. Okay, and we're just going to do this. So if the ball did get to there, where was it most likely going to go? It'd most likely go directly straight forward to there. So we don't need it. We don't need to guard against that. Okay, so if the ball most likely is going to go somewhere in this area between here, I will take this line out. That means where is the ball most likely going to go? That means the ball is most likely going to go here, somewhere in this range. This person's here. It's going to go somewhere in that range. Okay? And therefore, for us to guard against that, as you can see, where do these kind of intersect? Is right here. And very difficult right now for Todd to get that ball. Maybe she could reach it, but you want to put that ball close to the center of your body. So that, with a very messy, lots of lines, I'm going to try and clean this up for you guys. As you can see, that is why Todd should actually be even further to her left. And that is one of the things that you see a lot of mistakes are made, is people understanding how far to the left they need to go when their partner is pushed off the court. Like you can see, she just gets to that line. She goes, I'm not going any further. I don't care how far you go. I'm not going any further. Which is also, so she didn't even get far enough to the left, but then does this slide back. I don't understand that slide back because there's nothing where Jansen has really the benefit of being able to take the ball and go this direction with it. There's almost no ability for Jansen to hit the ball that way based off of the paddle, it being her backhand, all those things. And so there's maybe a 1% chance or less than a 1% chance that from the trajectory of the ball that Jansen can even hit the ball this direction. Very, very slim. And so that's what we're talking about is she goes over to an area where nothing about that ball flight, the trajectory, Jansen's backhand, why the ball would want to go to, and I'll say this from Jansen's perspective, Jansen's left, a.k.a. Todd's right. And so by her moving, that's where a lot of problems come in. And she has an amazing partner, but you shouldn't be making your partner do that of hitting the ball from one line all the way to the next line. How Todd thinks that that ball is her partner's is kind of ridiculous. And hopefully we see some better play on that. Okay, so Parenteau magically gets that ball back, then gets into a drop. And because she's off balance and just trying to make sure she gets it over the net, she hops it, as she does. She hops it. Ball floats, and Irvine can smash, and she just lays all the way out with it. Okay, I just really got to point this out. Okay, when you're playing, your body needs to be to a 45-degree angle to the ball. Let's point out where Todd's feet are. Todd's feet are literally pointing that direction. Okay? Her hips are pointing that direction. The ball is over here. Let's back this up. I'm just trying to even understand how her body got to that point. Okay, so Parenteau gets this amazing shot. They get back over. Yeah, this whole turn, she's literally turning the wrong way as she's stepping and then tries to bring her leg back. She should literally have her left foot. I hope she watches this video. This foot should be back here. Her feet should be literally reversed. She should be like this. And her hips and body should be facing over on this direction the whole time. Then she would have a chance of getting this ball. She literally has no chance of getting this ball. See, she's spending time trying to turn, and therefore her paddle's even slower because her body and shoulders are not even looking the way they should be. I'm just surprised that she's literally turned the wrong way even here. As she comes in, her hips are turned the wrong way. And so I will point it out on another point so that you guys can see it when you have the blocker workhorse. But Todd in this situation is literally doing everything on the reverse on how it should be. So I'm just going to back this whole up. I want to see when the point comes over here. Watch this. So when Parenteau hits this dink, this is one of the major issues that the Parenteau and Todd team are having. Todd's left foot should be here on the line because the ball's way over here. Where's the ball going to go? How is it going to get past that? And her body should be turned with her front foot more towards the kitchen line with her shoulders, everything pointing towards the ball so she can see it. So that she is defending, I'll use blue, so that she is defending from this with the backhand and this with the forehand, because right at this moment, all this is Todd's responsibility, and that's why she needs to be able to have her, because she's the workhorse now. Why is she the workhorse? is because the ball is right here. You and your teammate always choose who's the blocker and who's the workhorse by where you put the ball. And she's not participating in that at all. She's literally standing over here playing singles and guarding her side of the court, which has no relevance to where the ball is at. And you have to always change to what you are guarding. And that's one of the reasons why Parenteau runs over here to get that shot, because she can see that her teammate isn't in the correct body position as she should be. Now, I know we analyzed this point a long time. There was a lot there. So let's move on to the next one. I know there's going to be a lot of other good stuff to learn, but I hope you guys took a lot of good stuff away from that. Okay, it is Jensen's turn to serve. And she serves it long. Just back that up real quick. I'm just taking a quick look. I want to see. Ooh, really long on that. Okay. Obviously, we've talked a lot about what the point of the serve is. I do just want to point out real quick here, look how far back Todd stands. We don't do a lot of talking about the proper place to stand when serving. When you're stacking this position for Jansen right here, very common, your partner stands right here. So it does force you over in the box a little bit more, and you're also going to be sliding. Jensen's going to be sliding to her left. So that's a very good place to stand. The part where there are just a lot of pros that do this, they stand right next to the line, which I don't think gives you the best benefit. So let's speed this up and go forward. Now, Jensen's very good. She obviously hits a harder serve just traditionally because of her playing singles. But let's look at Todd here. Todd is at least 3 feet back from the line. What does that do? What are the benefits of that? Well, when you feel, and if you sat in practice, you can see how much harder you can swing at a ball and know that it's not going to go long, because as we know, gravity and air resistance are pulling that ball, slowing it down and pulling it into the court, the surface area you need to hit. So your actual margin of error by you stepping backwards gets bigger, because every additional inch, what does the ball want to do? The ball wants to drop and go into the service area. So you can swing harder, not getting the, what, in golf you'd call the yips. You can take a full swing, full powerful swing, and the ball wants to go into the court. So I always advise clients, especially even up to the pro level, that you want to be somewhere between 3 to 6 feet back behind the baseline when serving. Physics are on your side and literally helping you hit the ball in. So let's take all the advantage we can get. There's no real benefit of being up on that line. Also, as we've seen, when you are up on that line, your tendency is to stay up there or even go into the court, and then you're going backwards on that next drop. So I'm just giving general information here. So let's move on to the next point. Todd to serve. Ooh. Jensen's still thinking about that serve, just compounds it and crushes that next one out. Okay, we're not going to overanalyze either one of those very much. Moving on to the next one. Jensen's having a tough time because there was actually quite a bit there. Okay, so let's look at this serve. Mid-box and comes back. So better deep, but as you can see here, I just want you to see from earlier in this match, look at Todd's feet. Todd's feet are now here, at least a foot, 2 feet behind the baseline. Earlier, she was right on the baseline and then really falling back. So she has kind of learned of like, okay, they're going to return deep. And so she's still falling back. She still could have been even further back and been fine, but less falling back. Therefore, the ball floated less, and she still does this little hop, but it is decreased. And the only reason that decreased is because where she's standing, there's no change to her actual technique. So that's the one thing I want to say is you can improve your technique just by where you stand on the court. So her technique would have gotten even better if she wasn't here. If she was here and then leaning forward into that ball, it would have been even better. Okay, so third shot drop. Parenteau sees that it's a good drop right between them, and she goes all the way to the kitchen line. I don't like the amount of separation between her and her teammate, but I think she's used to playing where somebody's not falling back. Todd is not her usual partner to my knowledge unless something has recently changed. It's hard to keep up with all the pairing changes all the time in women's doubles and in men's doubles. Okay, so this is what we wanted to get to, is a nice backhand dink by Irvine into the backhand of Todd, and Todd decides to speed that up. This is a bounce speed up. Really bad decision here. Okay, as you can see, there's just hardly any power on this ball, and as you see, Jansen just gets to unload on it with her two-hand backhand, and so you're going from hitting a red ball. This one is definitely at knee height or below, and I'm just going to mark Jansen's shoulder at the same time. Watch this go a couple frames forward. That ball is at her shoulder. She is just hitting straight down on it, and so now you just gave your opponent all the advantage, and the only thing probably saving it is Parenteau has amazing hands, and that it went to her forehand, and that it was Jansen's backhand. And so this, they're just getting lucky. This didn't set them up for success, because right here, there's the speed up, and Parenteau resets that ball. She kind of does a little change up. She couldn't even get a good whack at it. She's just getting it back over, and that ball being slower than Jansen anticipated, Jansen takes a full swing and hits it out. And so sometimes you get lucky, but the actual point breakdown, and where, if you counted the odds, because of Todd's decision right here, there was at least probably a 70-80% chance that they're going to lose this point by Todd making this decision. And this one is just that smaller 20% window where sometimes you get lucky, your opponent misses, they don't hit the ball pure. And so this one Todd gets away with doing the bounce speed up, but it definitely didn't work out. What you want a bounce speed up to do for you is not letting your opponent crush the ball straight down at you. So that is the one thing that I really want people to take away from this is, do not, I always like to say, if you're going to do bounce speed ups with your backhand, like in golf, just put your clubs back in your bag and drive your golf cart home, because it's going to be a rough day on the course. If Todd keeps doing this, I don't know how much more Parenteau can keep saving her from these mental errors. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Got a commercial I'm just going to fast forward through, and Todd's turn to serve. Okay, good point. Let's back it up and take a look at it. Okay, a little bit deeper serve this time. Nice deep ball. Parenteau takes this one. Okay. We've pointed this out in other points, and this is best example so far where it doesn't, where it really affects how you should go. So the ball is crossing the plane of the net. Somewhere in these three frames, the ball is crossing the net. It could technically be here, but I really think as it's starting to descend, this is where the ball is crossing the plane of the net. So I would give them that they should be down here. This is where you should say, okay, This is all the distance we got. I need to split step and get low, and then we'll work on this ball. If you've watched some of our other videos and you see Ben Johns, he's stopping at this point and getting prepared. This is one of the reasons why he's the best in the world, is because what does he do? He prepares earlier, and he doesn't have this desire to overrun. And so she impacts the ball, and look, the number one way to be dead in pickleball, especially at the pro level, is to be split stepping when the ball is being impacted or just after impact, because you are in the air and then you can't, you're late. I just want to show you, like when her feet go out, like these, her feet are clearly in the air there. Todd's feet are clearly in the air. Jansen at least has 1 foot down here, still wouldn't be able to do much. And so her first ability to react is here. As you can see, the paddle goes to the left. The paddle's in the middle of her body. That frame is her now being able to react to the ball. The ball is probably maybe in the middle of the kitchen coming back, maybe a little past that. I would say middle of the kitchen is where I think that ball is at. And therefore, her reaction is late, so she can't step back. She can't make, this ball is not coming hard, but she has no choice but to take this ball in the air. And like we've talked about, the number one thing to do is just make your opponent have to make a decision. She's not even able to make a decision of moving her left foot back because she just got it down. She has no time to take a step back and be patient with that ball. And because of that, her body weight is moving forward, and she's going to over pop this ball up, a non-hard hit ball, and then it's just slam time. The other thing that she now does here, and this is the hardest, in my personal opinion, of the one thing that's hardest for anybody to do, and it actually takes a lot of practice, is in these situations, once you've popped it up, don't run back because you'll never get time. What you want to do is stay down and think yourself as a catcher, and you're just trying to react to the ball. So you can also use this analogy if you guys ever played like Little League or baseball and anything. When you are a shortstop, first base, second base, third base, when the ball is hit at you, your coaches treat you, you don't run backwards away from the ball and then try and get a grounder. You run towards the ball, or you stay put to get that ground ball coming at you. When you start moving back and moving your feet, your head and eyes are now moving while the ball is also moving. So you have two different planes of trying to pick up this ball and figure out where it's going to end up at, and it's most likely not going to work out well. And so if she had actually hit this pop-up, adjusted, kept her butt and body low right here, and just held her hands up, when this smash comes, watch where the smash went. The smash went there. It would have gone about mid-chest in her previous position, and she could have just blocked it right back. Now, is that a really, really hard thing to do? Because everything in your body says, move back, get myself time. Yes, but you will a higher percentage of the time, you will get the ball back over if you stay still, think as a catcher, just block the ball in that scenario. So those are kind of the two learning points we can do from this, but the point broke down by Todd overrunning this ball, split stepping in the air, post it being hit, and then everything because of that forces her to then hit this pop-up. And Irvine takes a great opportunity to just smash away at it. Okay, next point, Parenteau's turn to serve. Okay, let's back this up and take a look at it. Okay, so both times that we've seen Parenteau step over to take this ball, they've had a tough time with their body position. So here's what's happening is, one, Parenteau's taking the ball. That's fine. I don't have any issue of a team deciding, okay, we want to have, and you're going to take the forehand. The one thing we're going to point out here is, obviously, you've caused a big hole in here, and your teammate hasn't moved forward. If I backed it up and we looked back at other points when she let Todd take the ball, Parenteau is able to move forward and the team is able to be more aggressive. So now they are moving up in unison, and Parenteau decides to drive the ball. For some reason, Irvine is rather slow getting up here. I just want to back this up. I want to see what is she doing. Yeah, she kind of starts to physically slow down here. She sees that it's going to be a drive and doesn't try and get all the way to the kitchen line. So then she just deflects it because she has such a big open hole. As we can all see, both teams are on one side. This is the issue right here. Obviously, your opponent's going to see that and go there and have no stress about how low or hard they have to hit it. Parenteau's basically on the run playing singles right now. That's what the problem is. When you start to get out of position in doubles, you start having footwork as in singles. And guess what? It works in singles because there's not that other second person there. That shot, let's just do this as an example. If Irvine and Parenteau were playing singles and you hit this, well, guess what? There is no Jansen over here on the left side, or technically Jensen's right side, but camera left side as we're looking at it. And so this ball, no big deal. But she just pops this up, and Jansen definitely going to put that ball away. Here's the other thing I do just want to point out. When this ball starts to go here, and this is in my personal opinion, because Parenteau is here, her teammate is not going to follow and move left as she should. Todd should see this ball moving to her left, and where Todd needs to get all the way over here and get their feet like this. Okay, watch. We're going to leave those marks there, and we're going to move this forward. Ball goes over. She kind of see how she takes kind of a half, goes a little wide with her foot, a little more, sees her teammate keep going, and she stops right there. But where's the ball? The ball is right here. We've pointed this out in earlier examples, so now I'm going to just get rid of this red. As you can see, the ball is going to come there. And so where's the most likely spot that this ball from its point is going to go? Okay? And this is what we've talked about, is Todd is basically not engaged in this match by where her feet are. And that's where I think that she's made this mistake on other points, but really in this example, Parenteau coming so far over to the right to take that first ball has a natural effect on your playing partner of them not coming as far to the left as they should. And so once Todd is disengaged on where the ball is at, there's just an open lane to fire right here. Here's the lane. And Jansen has hit this shot probably 10,000 times in her life, and she's going to put that away. And so what you actually want in the blocker workhorse, if it's the first time you're hearing it, right now, because of where the ball is at, has nothing to do with players on the left or the right or playing ability. You choose who the blocker is and who the workhorse is when and where you hit the ball. So when the ball is on the left-hand side, Parenteau right now, that makes them the blocker. And their job is to defend this, and only that real close up tight. Okay, they're looking for speed-ups directly back at them. The workhorse is Todd now. So Todd needs to come over here, be at a 45-degree angle to the ball with her hips pointing this way directly at the ball so she can take it. And then her job is to guard all of this. So if Jansen decides to lob it, Todd is supposed to come on over and grab that. Let me clean this up a little bit. And so that is the big thing, is right now Todd is basically playing singles with Parenteau as a teammate and not a true double partner by her position on the court. Now, I don't know what they said after that, but in my personal opinion, Tanya should have said, hey, my bad. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Oh, sometimes you get a little lucky. Back that up. Just want to see if there was anything really else we could see. I have no problem with uh, Jensen's deciding to drive as many balls as she does. She has one of the best strong forehands in female pickleball, like in the world. And she's putting that ball wherever she wants. She goes, I want to put this right on your backhand. And she does just that. I mean, it is beautiful. Here's the problem I have with the Jansen Irvine partnership. Watch. This is where Irvine is at impact. I'll try to make that actually a little smaller for you guys. So we're just going to mark the feet. And watch how little progress her teammate makes at impact. That's at impact. We're not even going to where it would be at the net. Let's back it up. Let's go when it's crossing the plane. Okay, so it's crossing the plane here. So even just a little bit further back. But Irvine is being very tentative and not getting low and being able to do any kind of a shake and bake, any kind of a pounce or going up there. She's almost waiting back for Jansen, and I just definitely disagree with that. If your partner is driving the ball, you need to at least get to zone 2, and the bigger thing that I would point out is you should get there much earlier. So let me erase this, and let's look at when she knew the ball was going to her partner. At this point, see that paddle move? See that shift on Irvine? She moves her shoulder right there. She knows I'm not hitting this ball. See how she starts to move over to the right? She's a little late on moving to the right, but then she goes slow, slow, and then finally starts to come forward. She should, at that point, already be just going, okay, she should be moving forward up to here. Now, she may want to, a lot of people like to kind of do the runaround to get a little extra wide to give their teammate full optimal shooting angle. But given where this ball comes back, she doesn't even really have to do that. She could almost move straight forward and have no problem with it. But yeah, by her staying back, what happens? She's now too far back. That occurs, and she doesn't even have any chance of going getting that ball. If she was at zone 2, as we talked about before, that's right about, I'm going to say there visually, zone 2. If she was there and low, so let's take a look at it, at the point when the ball is crossing the plane of the net. So she should be there. She's well behind it, and she's not low, starts to get low, and then totally late. So that's the reason why you don't move up with your partner at the same time, is so that you can cover more ground. And you automatically know, like, hey, whose ball is this? Is it mine? Is it Jensen's? Irvine should have knew it immediately. Once that ball hits short, she's off the races, flying to get it, and then they can keep the point going. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Irvin's turn to serve. Ooh, not too good of a backhand by Todd. Let's just take a look at it again, see if there's something we can learn from. So kind of a backing up slice drop. I really don't like the technique from Irvine. She stays back. She doesn't even take any ground forward. And because of that, watch this. Watch how Jansen sees her partner stay back and goes, okay, I got to stay back. So she's, because of Irvine's technique and not taking any time, any movement forward, the time you want to be moving forward in pickleball is when the ball is on your side of the net. The opponent can't hit it here, right? Everything there, you have time to move forward and then get down. And now you got to get down here. But by you not taking this, you are just making your life harder. So anyway, so she hits it. She definitely gets to, Todd definitely gets to impact the ball at height of the net or a little bit higher. What I don't like is she lets this ball drop and get into her body, and that's how you lose all control. I have no problem with two-handed, backhand volleys, but by the ball getting in here, right in there into her body, that's really where your control breaks down of being able to put the ball. If she had reached out further, and that's one of the things, when you have two hands on it, you can't reach out as far, but you definitely do not need to keep the ball that far into your body when making impact. So how could she have reached out further and gotten this? Let's look at her legs. Look how tall up she's standing. So the issue that we have here is she doesn't have any weight back to allow her balance to not then have her fall into the kitchen. And so what she needs to do, I'm just going to do my beautiful stick figures here. I'm going to do it right on this line. We're going to do it this way this time. Okay. We're going to say this is her butt right there. Pretty ugly, I know. Little ET figure. So the center balance at this point on this stick figure is straight down, basically. Okay, we got some arm weight out here, and we got it's just straight. Okay, the only way to move that blue line back is to essentially sit down and get your butt back. You need to sit down, get your butt back. I know these are just amazing drawings that I do. But what does this do? That moves your center of gravity backwards. It used to be here. It is now there. And when you, and when we move that back, then you're able to take harder swings, reach out, get that ball earlier, catch it higher up in the air. Because she's not getting that back, she lets the ball get into her body, loses control of the ball, and then sends it sailing long. And as you can see, very, very frustrated with that ball. Okay, I think that was hopefully helpful for some of you, so let's move on to the next one. Let's take a look here. Obviously, they are now targeting Todd. A rather short ball. Todd runs up very carefully. It's just another drop. This time she reaches in once again. Not enough knee bend. And you're like, but her knees are bent. Okay. But this is the big thing that I try and explain to people. This is a knee bend, and look how she's bent at the waist leaning forward. Okay. You can see it. I know it's a two-plane image here, but if we had the other camera angle, you would see that her back is basically becoming very horizontal to the ground to hit this ball. When you're, when you become very I'll draw it out this way. So what she is doing, she has a little knee bend, and then she's basically here, right? And she's reaching out for this ball. This is essentially her. What does that naturally do? That naturally makes your butt go up because your entire body is pointing. Let me do this in blue for you. One sec. This comes up because this is going down, and that's what makes you off balance. What you want to do is try and keep your torso as vertical as possible. Want to keep your eyesight better on the ball. You have more strength and more control in your legs when taking these balls. And most importantly, if Todd had decided that she needed to take a step back, let it bounce, and then tee off on this ball, she has more ability, more power, and can then put the ball wherever she wants. Here's the best example. This is not some superb unhittable drop by Jansen and Irving are not even pushing on Todd. As we once again pointed out, Irving right here is still staying too far back. So she's making it even easier on Todd to decide where she wants to hit it. If Todd had let this ball bounce, and she took, once again, it was coming to her forehand, so she literally could have let it bounce approximately here. She could hit a forehand right here to anywhere on this side, backhand of Irvine, and potentially forced the pop up or ended the point right there. And so that's the big thing, is once you start bending at the torso, you have lost the decision-making ability of, am I going to let it bounce or am I going to take it out of the air? Right here, once her back, the ball has not even crossed the plane of the net. Once her back has started to arch, she's bending at the waist forward. She is stuck in, I'm taking this ball out of the air. and then she's trying to play it soft and not using, she's doing all arm. See how she flips that arm? She's trying to do all arm, uses almost no leg in controlling where that ball is going. Okay. Hopefully that little technique lesson there helps you the next time you are playing. Let's move on to the next point. Short return ball by Parenteau there. Ooh, there we go. There's probably the first decent bounce speed up we've seen. Okay, let's back it all the way up to the serve. Let's break this down. Okay, both Jansen and Irvine like staying further back on the drop very clearly. I don't know if this is something that they've discussed or it's just their personal style. But the one thing I'm going to point out here is even though Jansen doesn't leave super early, like she's a little late on making that decision, just crossing the plane before she starts to go, once she has decided she's moving forward, takes a couple big steps. She's not running. She's not sprinting. That's what I talk about. Once you understand when you're allowed to move in pickleball, you can literally walk this game. The ball is crossing the plane. Look at Jansen's knees. Look how she gets down. Pre-impact, her body is still. That is how to play pickleball. That's one of the reasons why Jansen is better than Irving when they're out playing other times. She is ready earlier, which gives her the ability to get more shots. Okay? So they're working their way up. I like the focus. Jansen sees that and moves in. This one was a little off because she jumps up post-impact to reposition herself and then gets caught with it behind herself. So she takes a short hop on this ball. And then she's out of position. Okay, so let's talk about this. So just to be clear, this is where the point breaks down because of Jansen's decision to take a double step on this ball and let it get behind her. So it was like one of the first points of the match where she did the same thing, where this foot is not dropping back to get on a 45-degree plane, and then she's just short hopping the ball, and both times she's basically short hopped the ball. She has hit something that sits up and is semi-attackable, okay? So that is the breakdown, but here's what I just want you to see. The ball is here, and that ball got there by Irvine's decision hit it. So who, when the ball is here, who is who, okay? So at this point, Irvine decided that she's going to be the blocker. Now, she hasn't made it up to the kitchen line, and so I would have liked to have seen her get a little bit more ground. She's watching her beautiful shots. She's hitting good shots. She's unfortunately doing a lot of watching how pretty her shots are, so she should have made it up here and blocked. What that should have done is that, and she did it a little bit, that means that Jansen should move this way. Been here. I'm going to clean this up. You guys obviously saw the arrow. Let's clean this up a little bit. There's one foot, there's the second foot, and there's the breadth of the legs, and then her torso should be pointing this direction towards the ball. That's where Jansen should be. So let's move this forward a couple frames. Jansen does kind of start to go there and then sees the paddle position and everything where Todd is going to go left. Okay? That's fine. The ball is now here. And then she goes back across. And so the issue comes in my personal opinion, in two spots. When the ball is right here, where should Irvine be? This is the number one thing. If you walked out and asked any 3-5 player, they would, there? I don't know. Is she not in the right spot? Well, we can learn from the results. So where Irvine needs to be, because of where Jansen decided to hit it, she had plenty of time. She needs to be right up here on this line low, leg spread, arms up and ready to get any speed up coming so she can smash it back. Now her feet, you see there like, man, that's a really wide line. I'm literally marking, this is how wide her feet are. She has good depth on her feet. She just needs to be you have to move up into the kitchen line and then move back. And so because she doesn't move up to that kitchen line, she allows this gap to form. If she had been on the kitchen line, so instead of moving on towards the kitchen line, she moves to her left and opens up a hole. When the ball is here, where's the most likely spot it's going to go, right? This is where the ball is most likely going to go. So if I'm going to leave that there, because the ball's not moving yet, the ball's not getting impacted yet, the ball went in the most likely area where it went, but Irvine shifts over to guard less of the court. Okay? Now, I agree that because of how Jansen hit the ball, she didn't make it all the way back. So we got 2 errors in this scenario to have such an easy win. To have that big of a gap go right down the middle, no one even close to it, it's not any singular person's fault, but it could have been saved twice. If Irving was in the right position, easily forehand smash, and they probably win the point. So if Irvine had just done what she's supposed to do on blocking, I truly believe they would have got this. If Irvine, the reason you have your blocker's foot on the line and at a 45-degree angle is because then your backhand gets this ball if your blocker can't get it. And that's the whole point on why when choosing to hit your cross-court dinks, you really got to realize, hey, if I'm going to take this ball and send it back over that way, I got to move my feet. Because Jansen short hops this ball and goes up vertical and has her left leg kind of go back as this little hop, very much delays her in getting over, and she doesn't take that extra step that she knows if she's watching this film that she should have. That's one of the biggest reasons why when you step over, you're loading. Where are we loading? We're not loading on tilting from the waist down. We are loading the majority of our weight. You want 80, 90% of your weight. You want to basically be able to pick up on your left leg to hit this dink, and then you are firing off that leg to go back the other way. So she gets a chunk of her weight right here. She gets a chunk of her weight right here, but she doesn't, because it's not at a 45-degree angle to the ball, she can't fire. She basically just goes up, back. See how she goes up, back with it? Her leg's here. And then everything straightens out and everything goes vertical, where what she wants to do from this position is fire that leg as if you were walking up a flight of stairs, and that momentum of you firing that leg and pushing off of it drives the ball back the way you want it, and your body naturally then goes that direction. We've also shown that many times with Annalie Waters or Ben Johns in their videos of showing the proper technique of how they're firing with their legs. And the way we know they're firing with their legs correctly is because of where their body goes afterwards, because Newton's law, opposite equal reaction to force, is we can see it by the result afterwards. So anyways, 2 mistakes here, one on Irving, one on Jansen, on them both, and that's why such an easy put away ball. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Todd's turn to serve. Ooh. Parenteau took a little risk, got a little reward. Let's analyze it. Okay, so here's the one great thing that Irvine and Jansen are not doing is Parenteau has moved up in the box, so when her partner drives the ball, she's ready to pounce. She's split-stepping a little late and going a little far over it, but they're definitely, I think they had a conversation of like, okay, let's try and go get this. Jansen does a phenomenal job of keeping this ball low. Ooh, okay. So catches Irvine a little bit on how quick this ball got back, and she decides to go around for the forehand. I disagree with this decision. She's done it multiple times in this match where she likes to kind of do this slide forehand, go wide. Most of the time that she's done that, she has left the ball up high. It's really rolling off a little extra high because she's not cutting it to the extreme that she thinks she is. And that allows Parenteau to lean in and snap that ball with her wrist right there. And so I'm just looking here. I'm looking at Jansen. Jansen's standing really high. Some of the time we get comments of how many times I'm rewinding this and going back and forth. The reason I rewind it so many times is because I'm looking at a different player in every frame. And so that's what we got to do. So right now I'm looking at Jansen and how prepared she is. She gets prepared here. Oh, she just thought it was going to her forehand. Look at that. She goes to the forehand, and then she's way late trying to get back. So, yeah, it was just Jansen misread it coming off the paddle. Thought here she saw it coming straight. The next frame, she still thinks it's coming straight. So she starts going forehand, but Parenteau released that wrist, caught the ball a little bit earlier, and goes back over to the back shoulder of Jansen, which was the right play. That's very, very smart to basically chicken wing her right there. The only question is, I think Parenteau hit it soft enough that this ball was going to go in. So Irving made the right decision to get back over there and try and get it. But here's the issue, and we're talking a lot about body position. So I'm going to just mark the feet of Irving right here. Okay. Now, Jansen misread the ball coming off the paddle. That's going to happen. But now, as you can see, marking the feet again of Irving. Irving is way over on the court and then therefore way late coming back. Okay, and as we've talked about, Irving made the decision to hit the ball to the left. So if you're the person who makes the decision to hit the ball to the left, and I know I'm leaving those marks there on the screen, but the ball is now here. You've made this decision. Where do you need to be since you are now the blocker? You've turned yourself into the blocker. So let's use yellow. You got to get to here. Feet got to be pointing this direction. Torso got to be going that direction. Because you're the blocker. There isn't any other option, and your teammate can either stay where they're at or they could slide a little bit. I think Jansen should have actually slid a little bit in this scenario. I know it happens quickly, but that's the main issue is you basically have to, if you're going to do a runaround, you have to know that you're going to run around and you have to full go to get back. And that's the issue is a lot of people don't. When they do the runaround, they kind of run around it, hit it, and stare as if they're hitting a winner, which obviously Irving didn't put anything on this ball for this to be a winner. So she knows mentally that this isn't going for a put away. But then her body is late getting back. And so, yes, Jansen misread this ball and Parenteau hit a good shot. But once again, if Irving had gone back to the court position where she needs to, she could have got this and wouldn't have hit it on the tip edge of her paddle. And it is because, A, she chose to run around it. And that's one of the reasons why I think Parenteau went back towards that left shoulder of Jansen, because this is the lane where there's the gap because Irvine ran around that dink. And so that's really the issue. If you're going to run around a ball, I'm not a big advocate of running around dinks just because of the amount of court position that opens up. And even at the pro level, they're not even good about getting back into the correct position. And so for you to get back into the correct position, very, very difficult. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Todd's turn to serve. Ooh, I think that ball would have been out. Parenteau wanted to put a little exclamation point on it. Wasn't going to take the risk. Let's back it all the way up. Okay. Todd serves really deep here. I'm just going to stop this just to see this again. See how she jumps vertically on this and therefore makes almost no progress and then is late moving up. This is better. She's leaning forward into the ball, takes it across court. She stays so she can handle the next one. So all this as we're getting into the game is getting a little bit better for Todd. That is a good shot by Irving. So this is just what I want to show. Very similar ball to the last one. This time she chooses not to run around it. Look how much better her court position stays and gets the opposing team at the disadvantage. But right here, Parenteau, what makes her the best, number 2 female in the world, is as soon as she hits this shot, she's pushing off that her right leg to get back across. And so at impact, she's already taken half that ground back and then comes back over. Fantastic. Okay, so right here, just going to remind you, Parenteau is the blocker, and Todd is the workhorse, and Todd is not in the best position for that. So I know that was the put-away kill shot. Still very questionable if it would have stayed in. But the point breaks down here. Okay. So a good but not extremely tough dink. And what happens for Irvine is she bends at the waist and gets tilted forward. And like we've talked about, then everything in your body, no matter how low this ball goes, you're going to take it out of the air instead of letting that ball bounce, moving your feet, letting it bounce, letting it slow up, letting it check up, and then you being able to hit a good dink back. You take it out of the air and you pop it up. So, and that is truly by, as you see, she doesn't move her feet. She doesn't anticipate where the ball is going to go. Right here, she starts bending at the waist, not bending her knees more and getting her butt low. And therefore, then it's, okay, I'm going down to take this ball, and understanding how much power a ball has and trying to have soft hands to perfectly hit it in front of you, soft enough not to allow the other team to take it out of the air. Extremely hard. Even the pros, as we see right here, have a tough time doing it. And that's why the first thing in your head, if you are the workhorse, is, hey, I'm the second person on this team. It's not my job to try and put balls away. It's to keep the point going. The best way to keep the point going, move your feet, keep the ball in front of you, hit a good dink back. And so that's really the breakdown on this. And so the reason I'm backing this up and going forward with it over and over again is so that all of you watching this see how long Irvine had to make the decision to move her feet. She should have started moving her feet at this point. She sees how hard this ball is hit. She sees that's a good swing by Parenteau. She's not hitting a strong dink. And with the pace of that ball coming across, as we can see, is how much distance it's moving frame by frame. She should have had, Irving should have gotten basically her left foot out to almost here, had the ball bounce, and then chosen where she wanted to go with it. She has that beautiful one-handed backhand dinking technique. Easily could have put the ball, maybe even over in this space on Parenteau's right leg and kept the point going and then waited for a pop-up themselves. Clearly, Jansen tried to reset this ball, was not trying to speed it back up, gets caught with it in her body and it goes high, and then the put away. I actually think Jansen was just looking at this ball going out. I think that's why she's so late on the next hit, is like, oh, well, that ball was going out anyway. Okay, next point, Todd's still serving. It's like the first time they've given us this other camera angle. It's been a while. That will be nice to take a look at when we're looking at this. Let's back this up and break it down. Okay, I'm just going to back this up. So this ball clearly comes onto Jansen's side of the line. So they're going forehand. And what does Todd do? She starts moving forward. That is exactly what you and your team should look like. Okay, it's your ball. See that change in her footwork right here. This is pre-impact. She's already given up on, I'm not hitting this ball. My job is to move forward, and she has moved forward. The ball is crossing the plane of the net somewhere in these frames. She's already to zone 2, and because her teammate, Parenteau, decided to drive it, she's going to take a little extra ground, trying for the pop-up and being ready for the short ball. Jansen does a great job of keeping it low and going over to Parenteau's side. And then in 2 hits, they are up at the kitchen line. So I like that. Jansen's going to keep attacking. This is what we've been talking about. I know that I believe she she misses a shot. But this is what we're talking about. Watch this. Her feet shift. So Parenteau's feet were straight on the kitchen line. They have now shifted to a 45-degree angle to get this left leg out of the way of the ball and the paddle so that she doesn't run the paddle into her own leg. She's trying to keep the ball out in front. What we mean by ball out in front is impacting the ball in front of your right knee. And I think one of the only issues on this is she really takes, sorry about that. She really takes her paddle up high here. Ooh, let's draw a little bit better circle there. Takes her paddle up high and gets it really high above where the apex of the ball is going to be. So let's take a look at how that ends up here. So it bounces and she's having to come down, and you can see that the paddle angle changes and she's swinging through it. She still comes off that leg. She still fires the leg. The leg gets fired a little late because, as you can see at impact, when the ball is in the middle of the body, this is middle of the body right there, where she wants to be impacting the ball is here. And so that affects the angle of the paddle at the point of contact. And so then it's just a little low, and she just hits the tape, just catches the bottom part of the tape right there. And so realize that she didn't keep it out in front enough and fire off that leg enough to keep it in how she wanted it. But 99% of that technique was good. That was a very good, backhand dink by Jansen. She had some of the best there is. And Jansen wins the point. But I think we can learn a lot off of Parenteau's technique and what to do on this. What I would like to see is a little less vertical backswing and a stronger wrist action. She's actually paired up sometimes, not a lot. Normally it's Annalie Waters with Ben Johns, and a lot of people have gotten to see Ben Johns' backhand and getting that wrist a little bit stronger, and that's what's keeping these shots lower as the game of pickleball progresses. Okay, on to Parenteau serve. This point is one of those great examples on why people love women's doubles, is because they can fire away at each other, reset, and the point keeps going. So I think there's going to be some discussion at the end of this point of, did it hit her, et cetera, but let's analyze the point before we get into that. Third shot drive, and Todd is doing what she should do, get to zone 2, cheat a little bit, and she gets that next ball to give her time, her teammate time to come up. That is really kind of the technique you want to see, and then easily gets the next ball, puts it right in between Jansen and Irvine, and keeps it low. Okay, so right now at this point, essentially we are at neutral. This is definitely a defensive dink for Jansen, and she has to come back up. And so the play is just continuing on here. At this point, as we've seen multiple times, Todd loves to do these backhand speed ups that don't have that much speed. She's gotten lucky a couple times, and this time she doesn't. And then at this point, they're off to the races. I will say, when I look at those hits, until this one, Parenteau and Todd appear to be swinging down on it. So let's just look at here again on how high the ball is. So she speeds this up. The ball is definitely higher up on Irving's side, but Irving just blocks back. The ball is low again, and so Todd blocks back again, doesn't speed it up a whole lot, but that ball floats. So then Irving tees off on it, and because Irving tees off on it, the ball is vertically higher for Todd. Todd swings down. Forehand from Irving speeds up again, and Parenteau gets to hit down on it. So Jansen decides to reset. That ball is short and low, and then Parenteau decides to reset, and that's what gets it to really slow up. It took both of them to basically decide, hey, Jansen sees this right here. We're off the line. We're way back here. We're on the defensive. Okay? We should not be trying to attack and win this ball. I'm resetting this. So she does a very smart job resetting it, gets it short enough that Parenteau makes the right decision to also reset. But right now, until Irving and Jansen get back up to that kitchen line, they're in the defense. And that's one of the reasons why you see Parenteau hitting this kind of dink well past the kitchen line. Well, hey, the other team's giving you all that extra space. Take it. Don't invite them back up. And so every one of these are trying to keep them. You're going to stay that far back. I'm not going to hit the ball to the kitchen line. I'm going to hit the ball past the kitchen line. If you're ever doing drills where the drill in dinking is you can't hit it past the kitchen line, that is a bad drill. You should change the drill and not practice that. You want to be hitting aggressive dinks that a lot of times go just past the kitchen line but are below the net or at knee height level of your opponent when they are impacting. Okay. So let's just back this up. It looks like, again, we go to Jansen's forehand. Jansen goes once again to Parenteau's backhand. Parenteau gets the paddle really high. Ball back once again into her body. As we've seen here, she's hit some great shots. But when the ball is at the middle of her body or behind at impact, this is just behind the middle of her body, that's when she starts to have trouble, either in the net or popping it up. This one pops up to the forehand of Irvine, and trust me, Irvine makes a living hitting these and goes right straight forward. Great right decision to attack straight on. The ball definitely is out. Whether anyone is able to see that, there's definitely a judge there. So they call it out, and Jensen's, I don't know if she's saying it hit her or, asking for it to be reviewed. So we go to an instant commercial. Just getting through the commercial for you guys. Here's the call. Parenteau's serve. Obviously, they're saying that it didn't hit Todd, and they got a point. Okay, let's back this one up. Oh. Okay, let's look at this again. So this almost exact point happened earlier when Parenteau came all the way over to the right and taking the ball for her forehand. It blocks her partner back, and unfortunately Todd has the habit of then just trying to keep running even though she shouldn't go as far, and this amount of the court is wide open. So pretty much every time that this has occurred, it has worked out in Jansen and Irvine's favor. So she tries dropping it, but as you can see, both people unencumbered are running to the kitchen line, and they don't split step till here. Ball's already either crossed. It definitely, to me, looks like it's already crossed the plane of the net, but you could say, I would say it's crossing the plane of the net between these two frames, and that it is definitely crossed there. And she's still in the air, still in the down. So it is at least halfway, if not 3/4 of the way through the kitchen line. And then she's starting to react. Her first reaction to where the ball is headed is about here. That's me being generous. I'm looking at the paddle between her hair on Todd, and therefore with, once again, all her weight moving forward, not being able to make a correct decision, it's a pop-up just like several points ago, and then it's just smashed down directly at her, win the point. And so the issues that's occurring is, one, the team, Parenteau and Todd, need to talk about what to actually do. If Parenteau comes over and you're getting boxed and you're behind her on the run-up, then you should stop, once again, when the ball crosses the plane of the net. So let's figure out where the ball is crossing the plane of the net. It's crossing right in these several frames. And so let's just draw this out again. This is zone 2. If you can get to zone 2, you stop at zone 2. This is 1. We try and keep things simple. It's awful looking 1. And here is, the kitchen is 3. Okay? So it is perfectly fine that for you to stop in between 1 and 2. You don't have to get to 2, but if the ball, wherever the ball is crossing the plane of the net, stop. And so what I would say, I'm going to leave those lines on there just as we back it up. If your partner comes over and you're behind them, let your partner get to 2, which is crossing the plane of the net. Let them get down, and you get down. The one thing that I would say, what makes more sense for more partners, if you go this direction, is actually for Parenteau to stop moving forward at this point, go dead left to get her coverage ground, and you're both going to be kind of in this in-between 1 and 2 zone-ish. Parenteau should be approximately here with her feet, and Todd should be there. That is one of the downsides of having the person who's playing on the left side take the forehand middle ball, is because it makes you definitely take an extra ball to get to the kitchen line. But that's the one first issue with this. The true issue of this is the overrun, split stepping there when the ball's coming back. Then you're completely late on the next one, and then you're just getting smashed. Okay, let's move on to the next point. Jensen's turn to serve. Pretty ugly speed up there, but let's just take a look at it real quick. Yeah, she lets the ball get completely into her body and just completely mishits it. So she needs to impact this ball much further out in front of her body. She's just really late on that decision. Seems like she was like It appears like here she was going to drop it, and then goes, nope, I'm going to speed it up, and then it's just late and hits the tape. The other thing that a lot of people don't even realize is when you're this far behind the baseline, you could basically be hitting the same stroke. I'm not saying that this is Irvine's normal stroke and that she lets it get in that far into her body and that much on her back foot. Absolutely not. But the ball is going to generate more spin traveling that extra distance. So the spin rotation, the top spin of the ball, is at this point driving the ball into the net, because in pickleball you keep the ball so much lower. And so the same stroke that worked and got over if you impacted that at the baseline now goes into the net when you're 6 feet behind the baseline. So kind of a double whammy on this. In my opinion, this ball she definitely should have dropped. But I will tell you, even myself, when I'm that far back on the line, I even make that decision sometimes to drive that ball, and we all make mental errors, and I think this is just one of those. Let's move on to the next point. Irving's turn to serve. Oh, 2 back-to-back. That's giving it back real quick. I don't like this strategy by Jansen and Irving to, when they're down, to start doing third shot drives. It just sometimes makes it too easy on your opponent and gives them too much momentum. You really want to make your opponent earn every point. Yep. She really went after that one, and that's how thin the margin of error is. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Like when they're up there at the kitchen line, they are dominant. And so if you are that dominant at the kitchen line, which Jansen and Irving have been, what do you want to do? You just want to get to the kitchen line and then be dominant up there. So let's back this up and take a look at it one more time. Oh, man, Jansen comes around. She definitely had some anger off of that previous ball. She runs around this for the forehand and just crushes it back. Puts Todd all the way on her back heels. So let's look at where Todd was this time at this impact. She's actually inside the baseline. Absolutely where you don't want. Look at this. Why are you inside the baseline on this ball? Now, do I have an issue with Parenteau being so far forward? I do have a little bit of issue with Parenteau being that far forward. But the one thing for Parenteau is she knows that they're trying to hit the ball to Todd, so she can cheat forward. But there's no excuse for Todd not being behind the baseline, ready to take the ball when she knows they're most likely hitting it to her. I'm looking at Parenteau right now and her jump back. This is the issue of if you're always overrunning zone 2, then you're always having to go back to zone 2 to impact this ball. If you just stop and you're at zone 2, you'll hit a better reset ball here and not have it as high. The footwork of Todd here really needs some improvement. I'm looking at Todd while Parenteau's impacting this ball. Don't look at Parenteau right now. Look at Todd get very high. And then really late. Just lets this ball come all the way into her body. Look how late she is. The reason she's so late is this secondary jump back split step. And as we talked about earlier on one of her points, what you got to do if you're getting slammed is you just got to get your feet to be still and get lower. She needs to actually sit down right here. She needs to sit in a chair. She doesn't. She lets her legs coil and like release, and then she's in the air. The ball is literally bouncing on her side, and her back of her heels are still up. Now she's down. The ball is one frame before bouncing on the ground, and then she's trying to work her paddle and adjust to where the ball's going, and her leg's literally in her way at impact. And that's the whole reason for this. She had plenty of time to be ready. If she'd stayed low here, arm out, she could have easily picked up this ball. It wasn't hit that hard, and she would at least be able to get it back over. I'm not saying she could have hit an amazing drop. I'm just saying she could have gotten it back over and kept fighting the point. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Beautiful point here. Just back. I just want to see that last swing. Yeah, bounce speed up. Bounce speed up that was going out and still got hit by Irving to win the point. Okay, let's back this up. I'm going to go all the way back, but we're going to go through it rather quick considering how long this point was. Everything there I just love. And now we're into a dink battle. That's a good 2 resets off of a bad dink by Todd. So I just want to back that up. Oh no, it was a bad dink by Parenteau. Leaves it high to the backhand side, and Irvine just flicks it and keeps her body posture really good. So reset by Todd, crush by Jansen, another reset, and then this ball isn't hit hard enough because Jansen decides to attack cross court. That's a mistake right here, is Jansen attacking cross court, which gives Todd enough time to line up on this ball, crush it back at her, and now Parenteau then resets it. Now we're basically back. Both teams are at neutral, and we're back in it, and Parenteau decides to step in, speed up that ball. Another reset, and we're back to neutral. In my opinion, right here, Todd doesn't feel that she can hang with Jansen. And so it's this dink that kind of sets this up. She hits this, and Jansen hits a nice, strong forehand cross, which gets her running in a very defensive dink. But she hits a good one. That's a great comeback. And Irving is doing what she's been doing all match, and she's off the kitchen line right now. That is inappropriate. She needs to be up hunting for this ball. She needs to be the blocker and ready to pounce if this ball comes high. I mean, you can just see everything in the positioning of Todd here is go towards the kitchen line and be ready to attack, and she doesn't, which kind of lets Todd out of the jail here. Jensen's not going away from Todd in this situation. Does it again, and I truly believe in Todd's brain. She was like, this might be the best ball that I get, and goes for the bounce speed up, which has no power, and Irvine just puts it away. Whether it was going to stay in or not, that's just crushed. I almost like the other hand from Parenteau here is almost communicating a little body language of what are you doing? Like, that is not what you want to do. Don't get suckered in. Have more patience. Don't do a bounce speed up. Yeah. Okay. Great long point. Probably the prettiest point of the match. The most resets. The best dink battle. Let's move on. Woo. That was a good dink. Here we go. Jansen serving. We're analyzing this point. Short serve, medium return. And that's where Irvine drops to Todd's forehand. So here's the thing. We talked about this several points ago. This is why I talk about the step back, let it bounce. Previously, Todd, I think she did it at least twice. She starts to bend at the waist, not keeping her weight back. And therefore, no matter where this ball was, she was going to take it out of the air. So keep your eye on Todd's torso bending at the waist. So she starts to go down, but she's actually going down because she's moving her right foot back. She moves her right foot back and then moves it back in. She lets this ball bounce. The ball clears the kitchen line. That's how far back this ball comes. But the benefit of this is the ball slows up, and she's able to now put the ball wherever she wants, right? She can take it directly cross court, puts it right behind Jansen. You basically have your will when you do this, and this is one of the things that you, as a pickleball addict, as I'll say if you're watching these videos, you can, when you let that ball bounce and slow up and check up for you, you're not even having to hit it that hard. You can just kind of put it wherever you want, and that's where the big advantage of that is, and that's why you don't want to get suckered by just leaning in and hitting a soft ball. Get used to when someone hits a good drop, step back and put the ball where you want and make it harder on them. This is perfect on Jensen. She sees Jansen overcommitting and attacking, trying to get a high ball, and she just goes, no, I'm just going to hit this low, almost dink with a little pace, little top spin out to the corner, because you gave up the corner, right? You sucked towards the middle, so you just hit it to the open area. Beautiful shot here by Todd. Such an improvement from earlier in this game. I just love this shot. Jansen does a great job of at least getting it back up, but there's no way that Parenteau's going to let that fly, and she puts it away. Okay, great job. Huge learning opportunity there for you guys to see truly what you should do on those kind of drops and what the advantage is of letting them bounce and hitting a strong shot back. Okay, on to the next point. Man, we are battling this out at 9-5. Let's back this one up, take a look at it. Definitely is, looks like a short hop. It's a beautiful drop. Parenteau steps in. Not in total love with that, but it's not that big of a deal. The issue which occurs that gets set up here by her stepping in and taking this ball, two things occur. One, if you and your teammate are going to play that way, I'm 100% fine with it. But your teammate, Todd, needs to be aware of this and needs to get out of the way. So where should Todd be? What should she be defending? Todd should be 3 feet off the line, which is about here. And she should be 1 foot here. I'll do it in blue. She should have 1 foot here, legs width, and then her other foot there. That's where she is now. That's the position so that Parenteau has space to hit this ball the way she wants. Because the body of Todd is blocking her, she's literally having to short hop this and can't do any damage except hit a defensive dink. In my opinion, this is also what delays Parenteau from getting back over to where she really wants to get, which gives a big open space for Jansen to hit this shot with no concern of Parenteau being able to take it out of the air. So Parenteau has to let this ball bounce. As we can see, this, even from this camera angle, this ball is going to be basically even behind her back leg when she impacts it. Let's just move forward a couple more frames. See that? Definitely behind. Paddle face wide open. Definitely Jansen hit a shot that causes the pop-up. And then, once again, this is how Irving makes her money. It's smash time. Just beautiful. Way to speed up on her. Parenteau has amazing hands. It at least gets it back one more time, but it's over. And so this is really what we talk about with people is, what is the point of dinking? What are you trying to accomplish? You are trying to hit a shot in dinking that causes the pop-up of your opponent, so you have a green ball that you are hitting down at. Now, this doesn't quite get to green, but it is definitely high yellow at impact. And that is definitely being hit straight down. That ball does not come up at all over that net. Irving is able to hit straight down over that net, right back down at Parenteau's knee, and then true green ball up above high double smash. There we go. And so if you don't cause a pop-up like this on your opponent when dinking, have more patience. Have more patience and just wait until you do. What you want to do is not just dominate them with your skill set, but you also want to dominate them mentally on them trying to figure out, like, hey, what else can I do? Because when you are causing them to give you pop-ups, that's when you can cause frustration to set in. Okay, let's move on to the next point. I think we're in a replay here, just given the camera angle. Yeah, that was a replay. Here we go. There we go. Okay, we're backing up. We're taking a look at it. Okay, so we did a third shot drive, a fifth shot cut drop. Gets over to Jansen, and now we're in the dink battle. Parenteau's getting a little extra hungry, being a little bit more aggressive, speeding up more kind of mid-yellow balls. The one thing that she's doing correct here, I just want to show you this. She is going to always attack straight forward. She's not going to let Irvine off the hook by going cross court again to Jansen, and that's what causes her to hit it out. And so that's exactly what you want to do. If you are going to take this yellow ball and you are going to speed it up, you're taking a risk, right? Jansen, very clearly, body language, everything shows that she is taking a calculated risk. She is, this is the knee. Her shoulder's so low at this point in the thing, but we'll say that's her. We'll say this is her shoulder. And so she's impacting the ball in the yellow zone. And the one thing that I'm going to say about this is you're going to see the ball have to come back up over the net. So I believe, even though we're at a 2D image, it looks like the ball's about halfway down the net, maybe a little less. But that ball definitely rises as it comes across, right? But the biggest, smartest thing in this situation is Parenteau realizes, where is my opponent? Okay, her opponent is not in the middle of the court. They are this direction, and from the ball angle, they are in direct line of sight of, here's the ball, there's a direct line to the back corner. So Parenteau has the max amount of distance to hit this ball still in, which causes Irvine not to know, is this ball going to go out? And she'd have to get her entire body out of the way, and she can't get her body out of the way. I think the ball still would have gone out, even with her hitting it all the way to that back corner. The ball is still rising, essentially, when it gets to Irvine's body. She just can't get out of the way. So that causes the pop-up, and then Parenteau, just do not let your opponent off the hook. Don't bring Jansen into it. So that is really how this point worked out. I'm not going to say that this little short hop dink is great, but it's definitely not that bad. It's definitely Jansen taking a calculated risk and Irvine not being ready to get out of the way of that ball that causes kind of the downfall of this. Parenteau had to do a lot right there to win that point on top of taking the risk. So good on her. Parenteau's turn to serve. On to the next one. Another pop-up by Todd. Let's back this up. It's getting really tough for them to score points. Jansen and Irvine are able to basically just choose where to go each time because of how late the footwork is of Todd. And this is where it's at. Like, this is not bad. It's not a great ball. It definitely floats a little bit. She overhit it. feet are in the air, ball is coming back. When your feet are in the air and the ball is coming back, like we've said multiple times in this match, you're late, and she just creams a ball up high. She needs to work on getting lower at the crossing. Right here, get down. Okay, you didn't take any ground? Well, then you got to work on your actual drop technique so that you take some ground before the ball gets there. But if you have the improper technique on your drop, then you need to realize you just need to get down at this point to then be able to reset that next ball. Overruns it, feet in the air, big pop-up, put away. I don't want to spend too much time on that, again, because we've pointed it out so many times in this match. Let's move on to the next one. Good hustle by Todd. And that's where the backhand speed up off the bounce doesn't work. So Todd is now making a lot of mental errors, not making it easy on Parenteau to be able to score any points, because then she's trying to be the aggressor to make up for other mistakes. And what you want to do is you need to get more patient, not less patient. So this ball, red light ball, she's impacting it at knee height. Just a quick reminder in case this is the first video you're watching. Knee and below, red light ball. You should not speed these up. Knee and above, knee to shoulder, yellow ball. Everything here is yellow. You can do those, but you're taking a risk. So if you're going to do it with caution. And then obviously shoulder above. We have to use blue here because of our system, but this is green. Smash away, you're able to hit straight down on the ball and just be attacking those. So choosing to speed this up, this ball is one, rising. So it's at her knee. It's at Jansen's hip. So see how much higher that ball is for Jansen. Jansen is hitting straight down on it. Number two, the other mistake here by Todd is on the 90-degree triangle, which there always is one everywhere on this. And it's easy to see this one because we have the kitchen line. There's the 90-degree triangle. There's your 90-degree right there. She is hitting. This is the shorter distance. This side, this is shorter. This is longer. And she hits it the long way over to Jansen, which gives Jansen more time to see it. So the ball slows down even more. One, you didn't hit it very hard because it's so low that if she did hit it hard, it would just sail out and Jansen could just let it go. Two, you don't hit it that hard, then the ball is coming even slower to Jansen, and Jansen can power on it. And what does Jansen do? Jansen takes that ball and goes straight back with it, the shorter distance, and hits Parenteau, who's not ready. Parenteau really never even got her body set because she was thinking about taking that ball. I would have liked to have seen her be a little bit ready for this, but I think Parenteau was shocked that Todd decided to speed that up. Like, nothing in her body language of Parenteau says that she's ready or even wants her teammate to be speeding that up, and so she just gets pegged and moves on to the next one. Okay, kind of two unforced error by Todd on the last 2 points. And Irvine and Jansen get another chance to try and get a couple more points on the board and tie this up. You can see that Irvine and Jansen are getting more and more patient since they're able to, when it's Parenteau and Todd's turn to serve, that they are able to expose Todd, and even in these hand battles. And so it's looking like the tide is turning in their favor if they're able to keep their patience. So let's take a look and analyze this point. Okay, third shot drive. Once again, attacking Todd's backhand. Jansen's doing a phenomenal job of one bullet in the gun. You drive on the third one, that's fine. The only reason I'm doing that is to try and get an easier, shorter fifth shot drop. And it takes her the fifth and the seventh to move up. They still haven't made it to the kitchen line. It takes them to the ninth to get to the kitchen line. That's what patience is, and I hope when you guys are seeing these videos that you're seeing that if it's taking the pros 4 shots to get to the kitchen, you also want to have that kind of patience of not overrunning stuff. Take the 4 shots to get to the kitchen, have patience, and be ready and just hit another easy shot to get up there. Okay, now we're into the point Little lift dink. And then once again, here it is. In the body. So it's not that you can generate any power. And Todd is doing a bounce speed up. So then right from the get, like she does the bounce speed up. She just lost the last bounce speed up on her backhand. Now she does a bounce speed up on her forehand. She attacks cross court again, which is the second mistake. The first mistake is doing the bounce speed up because you can't hit it that hard. The second mistake is attacking cross court. So she's on the wrong side of the teeter-totter. Both Jansen and Irvine get to this ball. It looks like Irvine actually hits it, but they're hitting down. You can see that the ball is now lower on Todd's side. She hits it back up again. She doesn't reset it. Then Parenteau slams on it over to Jansen slams on it over to Parenteau. Parenteau gets it back. It doesn't look like a very good reset if it even was one. And then once you get to the forehand side of Jansen, she puts it away into the body of Todd. Here's the other thing. Watch. This is what we've been talking about. I'm going to mark the feet right now of Parenteau. I know they're going to move a little bit, and so I'm going to do this just I'm marking the back with blue. That is the absolute back of her foot, okay? From this ball, she sees the slam coming. Her feet have not jumped up. Tiny little reset. Maybe you could say 6 inches, and she hits the ball. But barely, we are talking micro adjustment here. Really just kind of gets her feet a little bit wider more than anything else. Yeah, she just kind of gets that right foot a little bit wider and then hits it back, right? Okay, now we're going to watch Todd. So I'm going to remove these points. Now the ball comes back over. We're going to mark the back feet of Todd. Her feet are up also, but I'm going to mark them right there. Now let's see. This is pre-impact. And she basically jumps over to the right, does a secondary move, and I'm going to say impact is here. So her feet moved. I think this is the best example. And one of them's not even down at impact. That's how far her feet moved, and then she misses it. So that is the best example I've been able to show you guys, is if you want to be able to still have what people love to refer to as quick hands, we should actually say that instead of, man, you have quick hands, you have calm feet, meaning you stay in there like a catcher and you just catch the ball. You don't move. All your brain power, everything is just keeping calm so you can track the ball better and get your paddle on it. That's what gets you to be able to get this ball back. Once you start moving your feet and you don't have calm body, calm feet, and you start trying to move everything, you're late on the paddle, you're not able to pick up where the ball is going, and you're going to miss. And so I really hope you guys take that away. We've mentioned that multiple times. We finally got a point that really illustrates one right after the other of this is how to do it, this is how not to do it. So hopefully a good learning opportunity for you guys there. Let's move on to the next one. Jansen and Irvine have come all the way back. They got the serve, and they're just one down at this point. Oh, Jansen brings out the lob near the end of the game. It's 2 lobs in this. It only took the second one to get it a little bit better. Here we go. Let's analyze this. I'm going to love this. Decent return, 3rd shot drive, 5th shot lob, not a very good one. Drop, and then just skyballs it. Still doesn't get it very far back. And Todd just catches the tip top of that. Look at that. Look how that impacted the top of that net and then comes back. Jansen's pumped. Okay. It's pretty good form on Todd's part for the smash. She definitely doesn't hit it clean, but she does that good tennis of getting to that hero position. What I would like to see in this hero position is I would actually like to see, I'm not going to talk a lot about form here, this shoulder elbow, she basically has it at a 9, here, I'll do it this way. She basically has it at a 90 degrees. So her head is here, my beautiful stick figures, and her arm is essentially this with the paddle up like this, or a little paddle right there, okay? And what you want to do is you want to get that into a true hero position where you have it like this and the other arm pointing at the ball. When you get this, you're able to generate a lot more power, and you will most likely also hit the ball over the net as you're coming through and not be too early on it and hit it into the net. But still, once again, we were talking about a 1/10 of a degree on that ball hitting the net and not going over. But I think Todd is feeling the pressure right now, and she just didn't go back early enough on getting that ball. Okay, all tied up. Let's move on to the next one. I think they called a timeout. Parenteau and Todd did. Here we go. We're back. Parenteau's getting very cautious now. There was some true patience on that point of, okay, they've tied it up, make them earn it. Let's back this up. Jensen's turn to serve again. Okay, mid-box serve. Kind of mid-deep box return. And Jansen and Irvine basically said, we're dropping everything. We're going to make them actually have to put it away. And all that occurs here is them hitting the ball and making them earn their way up. This is the true issue for Irvine, is her lack of taking ground when she hits good shots. So they're taking way too many times after they've hit good shots to get ground. So let's just analyze each time where she could and should take ground. That's hopefully going to be the most important thing you're going to be able to take away from this point. Okay, Irvine hits a great shot. This is a great drop. I can already tell you we've watched it twice already. Okay, so from here, she should be moving forward. The ball is now crossing the plane of the net. As you can see, Jansen has taken some ground. Irvine basically takes no ground. Okay, that's the issue. Okay, the ball comes to Jansen. Irvine takes no ground. Right here, she knows she's not going to get this ball. Leans into it instead of taking ground. Once again, takes no ground. Jansen backs up. That's fine. They're both back. There's no significant difference if Irvine had been at the baseline or inside the baseline on this smash of staying still and hitting the ball again. So she hits a great drop, tries to take ground, watches the ball. Watch this. Impacts ball, watching it. You can just see her eyes. Her eyes are glued to the ball, watching it, then starts to take ground. Unfortunately, takes ground post ball bounce, but at least she gets inside the baseline. Hits another great drop, watches it to past, and then starts taking ground into the bounce again. So doesn't get enough ground again. So she's now hit 3 great shots, still not even to zone 2. And then there's a slight pop-up. Jansen goes back again. Irvine hits another good shot again and is falling back the entire time. So she goes from baseline. She actually goes backwards to 3 feet behind the baseline, then tries to recover, hits another second great shot in a row, doesn't take enough ground, hits the third shot, so that's 3 great shots in a row, still not to the kitchen line. And then there's just the inevitable error right there. And so the biggest thing is you have to trust your drops, move forward and get low. There's not that big of a difference in your ability to get them if you have calm feet, if you are here or if you are here. And I apologize, I'm assuming you're looking at Irvine because we've been talking about her. This is what I mean. There's not this big a difference of you getting this ball in and you getting this ball in. And so what you want to do is hit ball, move forward, take ground, and get low, because then things get easier for you. You put more pressure on your opponent to hit a better shot. They make more errors when they can feel your pressure of you coming forward, and you're going to get to the kitchen and get to a neutral position. Jansen and Irvine never got to neutral during this point. They were always on defense because they weren't taking ground when they were hitting great shots. That's the one thing I want you to take away from that. Irvine and Jansen both hit a ton of great shots in that. It wasn't the quality of their drops. It was them taking ground during them. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I don't know if Jensen's challenging that. Looks like they may be out of challenges. Okay, Parenteau's turn to serve. Okay, let's take a look at this. Pretty short point here. Parenteau has had a little bit of an issue where when she's taking this forehand middle ball, she does get it a little too high, and Irving has had a good number where she's able to hit it back with a little bit of pace. But the biggest thing is it's actually not Irvine hitting that great of a shot. It's Todd's footwork. We're just going to go over this one more time in this point. I know we've done it multiple other times, but that is where this point breaks down. So if Todd does it 100 times in a game, we have to point it out each time. Overruns it. The ball is crossing the plane of the net here. She's actually a little bit earlier on trying to get down. So she's in the air at the plane of it crossing the plane net. That's better. Watch this. Then she jumps back. So you don't get a count that, hey, I got down earlier here. I split step earlier. I did good. But then she doesn't have calm feet and stay there. She jumps again. So now her feet are in the air. The ball is crossing the kitchen line on her way back. Her left foot is still in the air. Finally gets down. Now she's adjusting to the ball. That's just way too late for anybody. Nobody can be consistent being that late and not prepared early and get the ball back. It doesn't matter. If Ben Johns was that late, he wouldn't be Ben Johns because he'd always be late on the ball. This double split step is killing Todd. If you're going to come up and you're going to split step and get low, as the one thing that you can see is the way she's split stepping, she doesn't feel balanced. So she's having to split step again to get her actual feet underneath her, and that is because she overran how far she thought she could get. But this is the second split step is the actual split step in this case, and that's why she's been so late multiple times. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Todd's turn to serve. Okay, let's back this one up. Actually, right off the bat, I can already tell you that I very much more like this third shot drop. Look how Todd now steps into the ball. She even takes it off. I'm fine with people taking it off of the same foot that they're hitting with, but you see how her entire motion is going forward. She does a little lift up. That's fine, but look at how much further she's moving forward, the ball getting there. Now, she should still get down a little bit earlier. Gets lucky that she hit a good one for the bounce, and then there's the invite up. But all of that is much better because she is moving and controlling her body weight into that ball and letting her legs hit the ball. You can also hit it more control lower so it bounces and skips. And as that bounces and skips, that doesn't allow Jansen to do almost any kind of attack on this ball, even though she steps back, which invites Todd up. Okay, and then let's get into the rest of this. Definitely too high of a ball by Todd on that dink. Really nice soft one by Parenteau. And she right here attacks into the body because I believe she sees that Irvine is not really ready. The paddle is too close into the body of Irvine and she's standing there. So Parenteau decides to attack, creates that pop-up. So what do I mean by, you see it, when you're in your ready position, you want your arms out. The best female in the world, Waters, always has the paddle out further, arms away from the body, and that's her resting position so that she can go either direction. When you have your hands in close to your body, like Irvine does right here, it doesn't allow you. See how she has to basically move her body out of the way, then the ball is into your body, and like a spring, the spring can't coil back to control and choose what to do with the ball. And that's why now the ball is being basically slapped at and it's just going straight up. So this attack, risky, especially at 9-9, and Parenteau's had to be taking more risk because they've been attacking Todd a lot. But just to point out, it's a calculated risk. I know I'm using red right here, but it's a yellow ball, but it is a little bit higher yellow ball, which I can see why Parenteau decides to attack. And then once again, she does the perfect, where she has a line right to the corner going through her opponent. And so she's putting the ball up into their body. Watch as this ball rises. So it's get out of the way ball, and it's uncomfortable. So she's not actually hitting it that hard. She's just saying, trying to get the ball up when somebody's hands aren't where they should be. Good example right here. Let's look at Jansen because of the camera angle. Look how far out her paddle is when she's just naturally turning, whereas right here, all in tight on Irvine. Ball's up, put away. Nice job on that. Let's move on to the next one. First potential game point, Todd serving. Oh, and they take the first game. That calm, cool, collected that Jansen and Irvine had went away really quick once Todd started hitting better drops and using better forms. So let's just take a look at it right here. Once again, ball is short, which allows Todd to have better form. So she's not leaning way back. She gets that right leg down ahead of time, and then she pushes. See how she pushes off that right leg? Her whole body is going forward, and she's actually hitting the ball using the power of her leg, not just swinging her arm back up, which allows that nice control. Now, the goal of a drop is that the ball is being impacted below the net, which it is. See how Jansen has to lift it back up over the net? So it has achieved what needs to be achieved. She doesn't get all the way there in one. It takes her two to get there. And then Parenteau and Todd are getting to the kitchen line. This, like we talked about when Todd did it, Jansen now decides to do a bounce speed up, which is a very risky play being down 9-10. You definitely don't want to do it. And after she does that, the entire point breaks down. Her and her teammate are on their back heels. They had the advantage. Sitting right here, Todd and Parenteau are technically on defense. And as soon as Jansen decides to do this bounce speed up, she attacks straight on, which is fine. It doesn't get her the result she wants. Parenteau is sitting right here, ready in the blocker position. Parenteau's only job right now is to basically block, which she does. She doesn't even hit it that hard. She just kind of reflects it back in between the two partners. Now, I will say the first issue is Jansen speeding up that ball. Where should Irvine be? Irvine should be here, not over where she's at. If she was where she should be as a good workhorse in this situation, she probably could have hit this ball much, much harder back, and they may have actually gotten away with one and won the point. So when Jansen decides to hit the ball there, what is Jansen now? Jensen's the blocker, and Irvine is the workhorse. That means 1 foot on the line, other foot basically on the kitchen line, 45-degree angle to the ball, so that you're ready for anything coming back and the lob. Now, you're going to be off that line a little bit, and all of that decision is made by where Jansen hits the ball. When should she have moved over? She should have, at this point, basically at least shifted over to the line at this point. Then, if I'm leaving that arrow there, if Jansen had decided to take the ball at this moment and had decided to come back over here, then, and now erase it, I'm going to use yellow. So where would she be? She'd be right about here. And then she would just do a nice little shuffle step. If the ball came to right here, Irvine would come back over this direction and position herself right here, able to, make sure that her paddle could at least reach this line. So that's the footwork that should have happened if that footwork was happening. Instead of her being so still, when that comes back, she's already there. And that's the big thing. Your footwork and your positioning needs to happen before these decisions are made so that you're in the right spot and able to get the ball. Now, she reaches out, has beautiful long arms, at least gets it back, but once again is on the defense, and then Jansen makes the wrong decision on trying to speed that ball up again. It hits it way, way out. She's definitely trying to kill it and do a put away on a low, soft reset ball. And Jansen screams, gets the win. Sorry, Parenteau screams and gets the win and is happy. Okay, great first game, lots of points, very long first game. I think we analyzed a lot. Thank you guys for watching this analysis. This is Pickleball Champs. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. And we release new short cuts 4 times a day and 1 master game film analysis once a week on Fridays. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something.